multiple worlds collecting cards from Naruto. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151, 5 purple cards. Early the next morning, Chen Tian had already set out again to hunt sea kings. With yesterday's experience, he had a certain understanding of sea kings, so he set his sights on sea kings of about 2,000 meters. According to his experience, 1,000 to 2,000 meters is about the strength of the Navy headquarters rear admiral. 2,000 meters should be barely enough to cross the threshold of the Navy headquarters vice admiral. He didn't know about the higher one, because he had never killed such a big sea king. After Chen Tian left, Robin and King Zhu did not slack off, and worked hard on the ship to improve their strength. The cute cook Yui was holding a large piece of sea king meat, and waving it around, thinking about how to make the most delicious food. They had no intention of leaving the homecoming, and planned to stay on the ship all day. Just as they were working hard, a large ship appeared on the sea not far from the Nine Snake Island. A pirate flag was hung on the ship, with a burning skull painted on it, and there were 2 bull horns on the skull. Ugh. Continuous horn sounds rang out on Nine Snake Island, and all the warriors of Nine Snake Island quickly gathered together. The bull pirates are here, all the warriors of Nine Snake Island. Follow me, and set off to sink them. The Queen of Nine Snake Island raised her arm and called, and everyone boarded the ship. It didn't take long before the two sides were in close combat on the sea not far from Nine Snake Island. Seeing that soldiers were constantly injured, the Queen hated the uniqueness of Nine Snake Island for the first time. There are no sea kings near Nine Snake Island, so these people can travel here unscrupulously. It is also for this reason that Chen Tian had to swim so far to hunt sea kings. But now their uniqueness has become the capital of the bull pirates to persecute them, and the Queen's silver teeth are almost broken. But there is no way. The battle is still going on, and they can only fight hard. The battle lasted from morning to evening. Looking at the exhausted Queen, Jack laughed and said, "You should surrender as soon as possible. Let me become the emperor. Not only will you not die, but you can also get my protection." "Why not?" Ha ha ha. Jack laughed wildly and happily, and so did his pirates. "You are dreaming. Even if we die, we, Nine Snake Island, will never surrender," the Queen said with strong anger. Jack smiled disdainfully. "Then I will see how long you can hold on." Then he turned and left. Looking at their figures going away, the Queen was very unwilling in her heart, but she was powerless. In today's battle, they have already paid the lives of 21 soldiers, and they were still hung up and beaten by the other side. If the other side had not had ulterior motives, it would be a question whether they could survive until now. So she could only watch the other side go away and return to Nine Snake Island helplessly. Hancock did not participate in this battle today. She was too young and the Queen would not agree. But near the port of Nine Snake Island, she took in everything today and knew how bad the situation was. In her young heart, a seed called becoming stronger secretly took root, and I believe it will soon grow into a towering tree. "Your Majesty, we can't beat the bull pirates, but Brother Chen Tian can definitely do it. Why don't we go to him for help?" Hancock brought up the old matter again. This time, there was an obvious move in the Queen's eyes, but then she shook her head and said, "I'll contact him first, and then decide whether to ask him for help." She was still worried about Chen Tian's character, fearing that the other party would occupy the Magpie's Nest and forcibly occupy the Nine Snake Island. The bull pirates can barely compete, but they have no way to deal with Chen Tian, who can use the domineering color domineering. The other party needs to release the domineering color domineering, and their warriors will faint and have no way to fight at all. Therefore, if Chen Tian really has bad intentions, their Nine Snake Island will be completely finished. Instead of this, they might as well face the bull pirates. As long as there are more people, they can kill the other party. Hancock nodded, not quite understanding, and turned away without saying anything more. After they finished fighting, Chen Tian also swam back from the back mountain of Nine Snake Island, and did not see the battle. After working all day today, he finally achieved his goal of killing 40 large sea kings. And he was lucky enough to get 5 purple attribute cards, which greatly increased his strength. First of all, 2 of the 5 cards were speed cards, which increased his speed by 2000 points. Then there were 2 strength cards, which also increased his strength by 2000 points. The last card increased the physique, that was added yesterday, a full 1000 points. After this round, Chen Tian's strength has grown a little, and the increase is not small. Chen Tian is still very satisfied with this harvest, and he is also sure that Seekings will only explode attribute cards. Perhaps it is because they have no other abilities besides their size. After eating the dinner that Yui had studied all day, Chen Tian lay on the bed thinking about his plans for the next few days. Judging from the queen's appearance, she was reluctant to let go of even one soldier. If they were to wait like this, it was obvious that this was a big problem. It seemed that this was not something that could be solved in a short time, and he should stay for a few more days. It was a good opportunity to hunt down Seekings, otherwise, after leaving the car belt, he would not be able to find such a large Seeking. At least there were none in the East China Sea, and those that did were killed by Garp. Garp, the naval hero, had his hometown in the East China Sea, and he would come back from time to time. In this case, how could they allow a large Seeking that could destroy an island to wantonly destroy the East China Sea? After hunting down enough Seekings, 9 Snake Island should be able to solve the problem, and he could leave at any time. If they couldn't solve it, Hancock would surely ask him for help, so it was a good opportunity to help. In fact, Chen Tian really hoped to do it himself, not because of anything else, but simply to test his own strength. Although Seekings were powerful, fighting Seekings was too different from fighting humans, and it had no substantial effect. After deciding what to do next, Chen Tian slowly fell asleep. They slept very comfortably, but not many people on 9 Snake Island could sleep tonight. Everyone saw what happened today and knew how big a crisis 9 Snake Island was facing. Even if the queen took action herself, she could only hold back the other captain and had no way of defeating him. The island protectors on 9 Snake Island were no match for those pirates, and they didn't know what their future would be. Perhaps 9 Snake Island would win, and they would continue to live in peace, or perhaps 9 Snake Island would fail, and everyone would become asterisk asterisk. Chapter 150 to Saving Hancock. In the days that followed, battles broke out frequently on 9 Snake Island, and Chen Tian continued to swipe the Seekings. During this period, he also encountered many crises, and was hunted by super large Seekings. If his strength had not improved a lot, he would have died in the giant mouth of the Seeking and become a dessert. As his strength increased, the number of Seekings around 9 Snake Island became fewer and fewer, and Chen Tian could hardly find a target. Yesterday, Chen Tian went out to sea early in the morning, and after not finding a suitable target until the evening, he temporarily gave up the idea of continuing to swipe cards. I have killed hundreds of Seekings in the past few days, and it would be nice to take a break for a while. After comforting himself, Chen Tian dropped out of the system panel and checked his current attributes. Host, Chen Tian. Physique, Navy Vice Admiral. Physical skills, Navy 6 styles. Swordsmanship, Swordsman. Dual color domineering, none. Ability, regeneration of broken limbs. Gravity space, items, 1 fine long sword, 1 ship, homecoming. Some food, and Bailey 325,820,000 Baileys. Looking at this attribute panel, Chen Tian was still very satisfied. Although his physique was still rated as that of a Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters, it had indeed increased a lot. If the physical fitness of a Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters was divided into 100 points, he only had 1 or 2 points before. After a few days of hard work, it has now reached at least 50. As long as he learns the 2-color domineering, no one except Garp should be able to defeat him among the Vice Admirals of the Navy headquarters. Even the 3 monster Vice Admirals Sakaski, Borsellino and Kuzan are at most 50-50. Chen Tian, who was in a very good mood, decided to take a few girls to the town of 9 Snake Island to play today. They have been here for so many days, and haven't taken a look at the town yet. Robin, Kingsu, Yui, let's go to the town to take a look. Let's go together. After calling out, Chen Tian waited quietly. It's not so easy for girls to go out. Yeah. Finally we can go out and play. I'm going to look for new ingredients. Seekings can no longer satisfy me. Well, then I'll go see what the city where Sister Hancock grew up is like. Hearing Chen Tian's words, the three girls were a little excited and hurriedly packed up. In just 5 minutes, they had already set off. Looking at the three girls chattering, Chen Tian secretly felt fortunate. Fortunately, women in this world don't have so many cosmetics, otherwise it would be difficult to get out of this door. Chen Tian felt that there was a bit of yin on his boat, but when he thought about being with a Mandaean knight, he quickly shook his head to get rid of this terrible idea. Not long after, they arrived in the city, and the three girls instantly had fun. The warriors of Nine Snake Island were very nervous. They knew that they were the ones who sent the three Hancock sisters back, so they didn't embarrass them. But when walking on the road, Chen Tian always found that many people were looking at him and whispering. He didn't bother to pay attention to these, and took the three little girls shopping all the way. Whether it was clothes or food, he would buy them, if he liked them. They were happily shopping, and suddenly heard the sound of horns, and it was continuous. When the people in the city heard the sound, they hurried home, and closed their doors, leaving Chen Tian and the other four standing stupidly on the street. Brother Chen Tian, what happened to them? Robin asked in confusion, having never seen such a thing before. Rubbing his chin, Chen Tian said, it should be something big that happened. They were probably beaten up. Will Hancock participate in the battle? Let's go and see them. King Su couldn't sit still. Then let's go and see. Chen Tian nodded and walked towards the coast. If they were beaten up, they would probably be near the coastline, and we should be able to see them when we go. When they were moving forward, the warriors of Nine Snake Island were already fighting with the bull pirates at the port of Nine Snake Island. During this period, Nine Snake Island was losing ground in the battle between the two sides, retreating from the sea to the coastline, and losing nearly half of its troops. In desperation, all those who could participate in the battle were gathered today. Even the three Hancock sisters were no exception. But even so, they still couldn't withstand the fierce attack of the other side. In the previous battle, the bull pirates also died, and only more than 100 people were left, but they were still stronger than them. Sister, the warriors seem to be unable to hold on. What should we do? Hancock's sister asked as the three sisters gathered together to resist the enemy. There is no way. There is no chance to call Brother Chen Tian now. We can only continue to hold on. While speaking, Hancock glared at the queen in the distance with dissatisfaction. If she hadn't been unwilling to ask Brother Chen Tian for help, so many people wouldn't have died. Now that the other party has come to the doorstep, you are still afraid that Brother Chen Tian has bad intentions. You really don't know what to do. If the situation was not urgent, Hancock would have wanted to point at the queen's nose and scold her. With Brother Chen Tian's strength, do you need to give him a chance to occupy the Nine Snake Island? How many people can stop him with one punch? Unfortunately, there is no such opportunity now, and Hancock can only fight with all her strength. It didn't take long for the three sisters to have wounds on their bodies, and blood kept flowing. Looking at the pirates with ferocious faces on the opposite side, their hearts were cold. The queen who was fighting with Jess in the distance also saw the situation here. When she wanted to come to support, she was stopped by Jess. You want to save people when you are fighting with me? Are you underestimating me too much? Jess's expression was very ferocious, and veins on his body were bulging. The queen had begun to regret at this time, regretting why she didn't listen to Hancock's persuasion. In just a moment, most of the warriors of Nine Snake Island had died, and only less than 100 people were still struggling to hold on. According to the current situation, it is estimated that they will not be able to hold on for long, and Nine Snake Island will die. Die for me. With a proud cry, the queen instantly fought with Jess. She went straight to Jess's weakness with every move, almost without any defense, and was completely fighting with her life. But Jess was beaten back by this desperate fighting style. He didn't want to die with the other party, so he was restrained. Yo, it's quite lively. Suddenly, a magnetic male voice sounded, attracting everyone's attention. Brother Chen Tian. Hancock turned around and saw Chen Tian, and cheered in surprise. But just when she was distracted, the pirate she was fighting with sneaked up behind her, and chopped down fiercely with a knife in his hand. Bang! Dust rose up, and Chen Tian carried Hancock back to the King Su and the other two girls. When the dust settled, the pirate who attacked Hancock reappeared in the field of vision. Unlike before, He was now lying on the broken ground, turned into meat paste, and even his bones turned into powder. Chapter 153, Defeat the Bull Pirates. Hey, here comes a meddling hero. Next to Crazy Bull Jess, a scarred man shook his head and sneered. He walked towards Chen Tian without any courtesy. Where did you come from, you brat? You've been daydreaming too much, right? You still want to be a hero and save the beauty, right? As he walked, the scarred man turned his neck, and the sound of the spine bones collided. Facing the scarred man's actions, not to mention Crazy Bull Jess, the other pirates around laughed and waited to see Chen Tian's miserable state. They knew the strength of this scarred man very well, second only to Captain Jess. And his hobby was different. He liked to cut off the skin of people bit by bit, while they were alive. Boom. Including Crazy Bull Jess. Everyone felt a flash in front of their eyes, as if a black shadow flew by, bringing with it a burst of strong wind. Jess, who was closest to Scarface, felt pain on his face, but he had no time to pay attention to the pain on his cheek. His pupils suddenly shrank, and he looked at the coast behind him, which was rumbling loudly. The coast had begun to break, and seawater and sand were splashing everywhere. In the messy land, there was a man lying with blood all over his face, already unconscious. Everyone present knew this man. He was the Scarface pirate who walked towards Chen Tian before. Too fast. In the last second, Scarface was still walking towards the ignorant brat. How could he become like this in the next second? Jess and others fell into a brief state of unconsciousness. They knew Scarface's strength better than anyone else. Although he was just an ordinary pirate who didn't even become a vice captain or captain, his strength was not weak, just a little bit behind Jess. If he didn't use the devil fruit, Jess would not be his opponent. He was solved with just one kick. What a joke. Too powerful. Fortunately, we didn't have a conflict with him before. The Queen of Nine Snake Island, who was not far away, saw this scene, while taking the opportunity to recover her strength, and her two beautiful eyes were wide open. Scarface's strength is almost the same as hers. Anyway, she has no ability to defeat him. Now he is dead or alive. The sound of swords and swords continued to ring. Crazy Bull Jess was the first to transform, and the others who followed him reacted one after another, picked up their weapons, and used all their strength. In less than a second, they surrounded Chen Tian. You are so strong. Crazy Bull Jess's face was gloomy, and he knew that he had hit a wall today. The guy who was saving the beauty in front of him was not an ordinary person. His strength was very strong. Judging from the horror he just showed, his strength was definitely above all of them, and there was at least a bounty of 500 million baileys. But he was not afraid, even though he knew that the other party was stronger than him and could easily crush him. But he also had an advantage. That was the crew around him. After being surrounded, what did it matter if the other party was strong? Even if he is strong, he will die. You should know that these more than 100 people are all elites. After so many people rush forward, he will die, even if he is strong. Before he finished speaking, the sound of flowers came from Chen Tian's side. Chen Tian was like a blind man, completely ignoring Jess and others who were ready to move. He put his hands in his jacket pockets and walked straight to Jess and others. Robin, Kingsu, Hancock, all of you close your eyes. As soon as his voice came out. No, to be precise, at the moment when Chen Tian said this and took a step forward, Jess did not hesitate at all, roaring and shouting, "Come on, kill him." Boom, boom, boom. These pirates were like bloodthirsty beasts. At this moment, at the edge of the sea, everyone rushed towards Chen Tian desperately. These pirates rushed fast, but they stopped quickly. When the Crazy Bull Jess and others charged, Chen Tian had already unfolded his domineering and overbearing aura. Under the extreme pressure of the Conqueror's haki, none of them spoke, and all of them stared at Chen Tian, who was already relaxed. In just a short second, these people's palms were sweating from nervousness. Suddenly, their pupils suddenly contracted, and a figure walked towards them leisurely. It can be seen that, even after releasing such a powerful Conqueror's haki, Chen Tian still did not consume much. Hiss. Jess took a breath of cold air, and was shocked by the scene in front of him, and felt the pain of suffocation and lack of oxygen. He was a very powerful pirate, and he thought Chen Tian would be very powerful, but no one thought that he could be so strong to the point of abnormality. According to the turn-based rules, then it's my turn next. The cold word sounded, interrupting Jess and others' distraction. The next second, Jess turned around and ran without hesitation. Although the others were a little slower, they all ran away from here, and no one dared to stay where they were. Bang, bang, bang. Another series of collisions sounded, just like the screams before. But unlike before, this time it was the bones that were hit by the terrifying impact, causing the sound of the body breaking. Ah. The heart-wrenching screams broke through the quiet coast, and the people who were suffering all howled on the ground. Chen Tian seemed to be able to teleport, and appeared in front of the crazy bull Jess, kicking the opponent's throat and other key points. His screams shook the earth, and his 3-4 meter tall burly body flew out like a heavy artillery shell, and crashed into the quiet port. Without exception, Chen Tian was like a crazy beast, doing the same to every pirate present. The screams came one after another, resounding throughout the coastal ports of the Nine Snakes Island. As the last scream came from Jess's mouth, Chen Tian's cold voice rang out. I won't kill you, not because I'm too merciful. It's just that it's not appropriate to show up on the territory of Nine Snake Island today. So I won't kill you. I've decided to let you accept the punishment of the Nine Snake Island warriors. At this point, Chen Tian looked up and signaled the queen, then turned around and left with King Su, Robin, Yui, Hancock and others. These people were beaten by him and vomited a lot of blood. Each of them broke at least 2 bones and almost lost all their combat capabilities. If Nine Snake Island is still powerless, they should also be destroyed. Weakness is the original sin. The beautiful warriors of Nine Snake Island did not disappoint Chen Tian, and they all took action to capture all these people. In this process, they did not encounter any resistance, and each one was more obedient than the other. Chapter 154 The Queen's Purpose. Chen Tian and the others left first, but the matter of Nine Snake Island was still far from over. After catching the bull pirates, the queen sent people to plunder all their treasures, including a devil fruit. Maybe Jess doesn't want to lose control of his men. After taking a look, the queen collected it and prepared to send it to Chen Tian. Others helped them so much, so they had to show their appreciation. Besides, this was originally Chen Tian's spoils of war, so she didn't dare to be greedy. Put all these people in jail and behead them in front of the subjects at noon tomorrow. With a wave of her hand, the queen signaled the warriors to start the action. She went to the place where Chen Tian and others were stationed alone and presented the devil fruit. Chen Tian, who had already returned, suddenly opened his eyes and said in surprise, "Wow, so fast?" He knew that the queen would definitely come once, but he didn't expect that she would come so early. Sir Chen Tian, this was found on the ship of the bull pirates. I brought it to you by the way. The queen showed a beautiful smile. The big eyes blinked, as if they could speak, but Chen Tian felt nothing in his heart. The queen was indeed good looking, but she couldn't compare to the other girls on the boat. It's just that they were still relatively young, so they were not as attractive as the queen, but they would definitely be even better in the future. In that case, I'll take it. Chen Tian was not polite. He happened to be short of devil fruits, so he asked, when will the queen come? The queen blinked in astonishment. Was she going to chase me away? I was an extremely beautiful woman, and the queen of Nine Snake Island. Why was I so unwelcome? But she really had something to do this time, both official and private. Then the queen slowly told Chen Tian about it, and the other girls and Hancock all heard it. After she finished speaking, the queen asked, what do you think, Lord Chen Tian? Without waiting for Chen Tian to speak, Hancock stood up in a panic and stammered, no, how can I be the queen? If I become the queen, how can I stay with brother Chen Tian? Wouldn't I be abandoned? Of course, the latter sentence was just a thought in her mind. Hancock glanced at Chen Tian and didn't dare to say it out loud. No matter how the queen persuaded Hancock, Chen Tian tapped the table with his index finger and thought seriously. The queen said before that she would abdicate and let Hancock become the new queen of Nine Snake Island, and she had sufficient reasons. First of all, because of her hesitation, more than half of the soldiers of Nine Snake Island died in the battle, and she had to come up with an explanation. Otherwise, even if the people of Nine Snake Island didn't say anything, she couldn't get over it in her heart. And in this battle, she also found that her strength was too weak to continue to be the queen. Her talent was not very good, so even if she worked hard, she couldn't improve much. However, these are all excuses in Chen Tian's view. Her real purpose is to elope with someone. The last time she went to sea, the queen fell in love with a man and made this decision. If the bull pirates had not come at the wrong time, she would not be on Nine Snake Island now. Now that the crisis is over, her restless heart bursts out again, and she can't wait to run away immediately. The reason why she is so sure is that Chen Tian remembers that in the original work, it was said that the previous queen of Nine Snake Island eloped with someone, although it was just a few simple words. After the queen ran away for a while, Hancock, who awakened the domineering color domineering, returned to Nine Snake Island and became the new queen. At that time, Hancock had developed a weird personality, so she changed the queen to the empress. But that should be 3 years later. Why would it be passed to Hancock now? In fact, the reason is very simple, and Chen Tian thought of it quickly. Now Hancock has awakened the domineering color domineering under the oppression of her own domineering color domineering. On the entire Nine Snake Island, she is the only person who can use the domineering color domineering, and only she is the most suitable. Although the Conqueror's Haki can only clean up the minions, it represents potential. Just like the root bones and spiritual roots in fantasy novels, it means that Hancock will definitely be strong in the future. In addition, it is estimated that the queen agreed to set her sights on herself. This battle has demonstrated her strong strength. With her relationship with Hancock, as long as Hancock becomes the empress, she will definitely take action if something happens to Nine Snake Island. In this way, she can abandon Nine Snake Island and find a good backer for Nine Snake Island, which is simply killing two birds with one stone. After taking a deep look at the queen, and seeing that she dared not look at him, Chen Tian said leisurely, "Okay, Hancock is very suitable to be the queen of Nine Snake Island." Originally Hancock was the pirate empress, and no one was more suitable to be the empress of Nine Snake Island than her. However, under her influence, it is estimated that Hancock will not become a pirate again. After that, Chen Tian and the queen had a heated discussion and agreed on the succession ceremony of Hancock. Under Chen Tian's insistence, Hancock was no longer a queen after he succeeded to the throne, but an empress, agreeing to let Hancock take the throne as soon as possible under the insistence of the queen, and finally set it for 3 days later. Seeing the queen so eager to run away, Chen Tian was speechless. Are all the emperors on the Nine Snake Island like this? They immediately ignore the country after having a lover? In order to achieve this goal, the queen also gave Chen Tian the cultivation secrets and experience of the armed color and observation color domineering on the Nine Snake Island in exchange. After asking Hancock, Hancock herself agreed, and Chen Tian took it. I don't know what the queen said to Hancock. Hancock, who was originally strongly opposed, agreed without hesitation and often looked at herself with a red face. This made Chen Tian very confused, but Hancock and the queen were unwilling to say, so he had no choice. When the queen took Hancock away, Chen Tian asked King Su, Robin and Yui to follow to help. Hancock will be very busy in 3 days, and will need a few people to help. After everyone left, Chen Tian placed 2 devil fruits on the table. One was given to him by the queen just now, and the other was the sweet fruit, which was found on the slave ship before. At that time, a total of 4 devil fruits were obtained, and Chen Tian had already recharged the system with 3, but the sweet fruit was left. After hesitating for a while, he took out the sweet fruit alone and let the system absorb the other one. Although he didn't know what kind of fruit it was, it looked like it should be an animal type, and was not very useful. This sweet fruit will be a gift for Hancock to become the empress. Looking at the sweet fruit in his hand, Chen Tian thought so. Originally, the sweet fruit belonged to Hancock, and only she could perfectly exert the power of this fruit. It's not that no one is more beautiful than Hancock, at least several people on the ship are not worse than her, but they don't have that kind of temperament. Perhaps it's because of becoming the empress. The temperament of Hancock is the most fascinating, so it is suitable for this fruit. After making up his mind, Chen Tian put away the sweet fruit and opened the domineering cultivation secret book given by the queen to read it. Now he continues to learn the 2 color domineering, otherwise he will not be able to deal with those natural ability users. Obviously, he is stronger than them, but he can't beat them. Do you think it's uncomfortable? Anyway, Chen Tian said that he really felt uncomfortable. Chapter 155 I became the queen. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Chen Tian mastered the practice of two-color domineering, but there was no result yet. Today is the day when Hancock succeeds to the throne, so Chen Tian got up early and went to see it. When he arrived, there were already crowds of people outside the royal city, but they were all women. In order not to be harassed by these women, he ran into the royal city without being discovered by anyone. Brother Chen Tian, you are finally here. I thought you would not come to see Hancock's succession ceremony. Not long after strolling around, Robin somehow found him and ran all the way to hug his arm. How is it possible? Where is Hancock? Take me to find her. I have a gift for her. Reaching out his evil claws, Chen Tian rubbed Robin's little head frantically. After finally getting rid of Chen Tian's clutches, Robin took him to find Hancock without saying a word. If she didn't go again, she was afraid that Chen Tian would continue to rub her, so would she still want her hair? Under Robin's leadership, the two walked left and right for more than 10 minutes before arriving at the door of a room. Snake Island is not big, but this kingdom is really big. Chen Tian couldn't help but take a breath. Brother Chen Tian. Brother Chen Tian. Brother Chen Tian. The moment he pushed open the door, Hancock, King Su, Yui and others in the room saw him and all ran over. Wait a minute, I'm here to give Hancock a gift. Chen Tian resisted the hugs of several women with a painful heartache and took out the Xianshan fruit. This is the superhuman Xianshan fruit, you can eat it. Handing it to Hancock, Chen Tian did not introduce the power of the fruit in detail. No woman doesn't love beauty. If she knew the power of this devil fruit, Chen Tian estimated that she would not be able to walk out today. Okay. Hancock took it without hesitation and took a bite. She didn't believe that Chen Tian would hurt her, so there was no need to hesitate. King Su and others all looked at Hancock curiously. They had never seen the appearance of eating devil fruits. However, they were not envious of this gift, because Chen Tian had given it to them before, but they didn't want it. Ugh. After taking a bite, Hancock immediately covered her throat, wanting to vomit but unable to. This is too disgusting. Under the impact of this taste, Hancock's tongue was a little numb, and she couldn't speak clearly. When the other girls saw Hancock's appearance, they were immediately glad that they didn't eat it. I have heard that the devil fruit is very unpalatable, but I didn't expect it to be so unpalatable. Hancock is now foaming at the mouth. After Hancock recovered a little, everyone couldn't take their eyes off her. Hancock's skin turned white little by little, and her figure also developed towards perfection. Although her height has not changed much, her figure has achieved a perfect response to her height, and it will also change with her height in the future. In the end, everyone found that Hancock's skin had improved a lot, as if it could squeeze out water, which was particularly attractive. Even girls like Robin and King Su Yui couldn't take their eyes off Hancock when they looked at her. What's going on? King Su exclaimed as if she had seen a ghost. Hancock closed her eyes slightly, and after opening them, she explained to everyone, telling them all the abilities of the sweet fruit. These people were her closest people, so it was okay to tell them. Knowing the effects of the sweet fruit, whether it was the child Robin or the girl King Su, all had red eyes of envy. Even the innocent cook looked at Chen Tian with some unkindness, as if looking for a suitable place to cut. However, Chen Tian had not noticed these situations, but was thinking about Hancock's performance before. After eating the devil fruit, Hancock closed her eyes for a while, probably to receive the general information of the devil fruit, such as the name and ability. Why didn't Robin have it? Otherwise, she wouldn't have thought of herself as a monster at the beginning. Out of curiosity, Chen Tian asked Robin, and Robin replied, I don't know if I have it or not. I don't remember it. Yes, Robin should have received it, but she was too young at the time, so she didn't remember it. After thinking it through, Chen Tian didn't think too much, and waited quietly for Hancock's succession ceremony. After preparing for so long, it was almost noon now, and the succession ceremony should begin. As expected, the queen came to pick up Hancock at that time. Robin, King Su and others all followed to join in the fun. Only Chen Tian stayed here alone. On this island, there was only one man like him, and it was too troublesome to go out every time. There were few people in the palace, so he could walk around at will, otherwise he would be surrounded by people. In order to avoid this situation, Chen Tian thought he would just watch from a distance and not join in the fun nearby. After arriving at the designated location, the queen went on stage first and began a speech. It was probably what she had said to Chen Tian before, because she had lost so much on Nine Snake Island. Her strength was insufficient, etc. The only thing she didn't say was that she was going to run away. After picking out her unqualified areas and criticizing them for a while, she felt that she was not suitable to continue to be the queen, so she had to abdicate. Then she talked about Hancock's excellence. At the age of 11 or 12, she had such a powerful power and made so many contributions to Nine Snake Island. Finally, she focused on the awakening of Hancock's domineering aura and demonstrated it on the spot. So no one opposed the queen's decision, and they all looked at Hancock expectantly. After the queen stepped down, it was Hancock's turn to give a speech. She recited the speech she had prepared for several days. After hearing the queen's words from beginning to end, Chen Tian couldn't help but sigh. This lover is really powerful. Not only did the queen not want the throne of Nine Snake Island, but now she doesn't even want a reputation. What a wolf. After Hancock finished her speech, they didn't know what ceremony they were holding. Anyway, Chen Tian was not interested. After touching his stomach, that made the sound, Chen Tian walked around the palace alone, looking for the location of the kitchen. Judging from Hancock and the others, this ceremony should take a long time. It's better for him to eat something first, otherwise he will be too hungry. He is different from ordinary people. Others can be fine if they are hungry for a while, but if he is hungry for a while, he will die. It's all because of Yui. Since she got on the ship, Chen Tian has no habit of carrying food with him, otherwise it wouldn't be so troublesome. Time passed quickly, and it was night in the blink of an eye. Hancock and others dragged their tired bodies back to the palace. Where is the previous queen? Chen Tian asked curiously when he didn't see the queen. Don't say anything. She went out to sea as soon as the ceremony was over and had no intention of coming back. Hancock spread his hands helplessly. Then he said to Chen Tian, it's okay if she ran away. She also arranged a mother-in-law for me, saying that she was the king of the previous generation and asked her to teach me. This is too anxious. She didn't even come back to pack up her things. Chen Tian was stunned. This is a talent. But speaking of that mother-in-law, it should be the one who was often kicked away by Hancock in the original book, right? What's her name? Forget it. I can't remember it. Never mind. When Chen Tian was thinking about it, Hancock shyly came over and said, Brother Chen Tian, I have a surprise for you. After a pause, Hancock shyly covered her face and said, today, when I became the Empress, I have already named you the Queen of Nine Snake Island. Countless question marks popped up in Chen Tian's head. How did he become the queen? I'm a man, okay. But thinking that Hancock was the queen of Nine Snake Island, it was quite appropriate for a man to become the queen. What a pie in the sky. I treat you as a little sister, but you lust after my body? Chen Tian reacted instantly. Looking at the speechless expressions of King Su, Robin and others, he knew that this was true. Hurry up, pack up, we will leave Nine Snake Island tonight. Chen Tian couldn't sit still. This was a piece of iron pie falling from the sky. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156, 4 years in a hurry. Actually, Hancock is pretty good. He is not a man with problems, so he naturally likes beautiful women. Otherwise, it is impossible that there are only beautiful women on the ship and no men. But Hancock is too young. He will only be 12 years old in 2 months. He doesn't want to start with 3 years and the maximum penalty is death penalty. Hearing his words, Hancock glared, tears flashed in her eyes, and she looked like she would cry if she dared to leave. But who is Chen Tian? How could she be controlled by her like this? Seeing that this trick couldn't deal with Chen Tian, Hancock immediately changed her expression and said, Brother Chen Tian, you can't get out of the car belt without me sending someone to take you. Before Chen Tian could speak, She turned into a pitiful expression again and said, "And I'm so weak now, aren't you worried that someone like the bull pirates will come again?" What a little goblin. With this soft and hard approach, Chen Tian really couldn't leave like this. It doesn't matter, if you can't leave the windless belt, you can just kill all the way, but you can't really leave Hancock like this, right? Although in the original work, there was no problem with the Nine Snake Island during this period, but now I'm here. If the Navy gets this news, I'm afraid that the Nine Snake Island will face the demon killing order. Don't doubt that the survivors of O'Hara and the big villains who robbed the celestial dragons deserve this treatment. Under such butterfly wings, Chen Tian really didn't dare to leave here. In the end, after discussing with Hancock, Chen Tian decided to live on the Nine Snake Island and train Hancock. When her strength is enough to protect herself, she will leave with King Su, Robin and others. In this way, the Queen of the Nine Snake Island, Chen Tian, stayed temporarily and lived in the palace. Days passed, and the strength of Hancock and others became stronger day by day. In the blink of an eye, more than 4 years passed. During these 4 years, the sea was turbulent and many major events happened. First of all, on the seafront, the former General Black Arms Ether officially abdicated and became the head coach of the new army. Among his disciples, Sakazuki, Borsellino, and Kyuzen became the new 3 admirals of the Navy. Their titles are Akeno Sakazuki, Kizaru Borsellino, and Aokiji Kyuzen. As soon as these 3 admirals of the Navy with natural abilities came to power, they became famous and almost everyone knew them. Moreover, their means and strength should not be underestimated. As soon as they took office, they acted like a thunderbolt and killed and arrested many pirates. The Navy also announced a new set of policies, which is called the 7 Warlords of the Sea, but it has not yet been issued. In addition, there are more things about pirates. First of all, one of the 4 emperors of the New World was pulled down, and the Red Hair Pirates became the new 4 Emperors Pirates, and Red Hair Shanks became the new 4 Emperors. Since then, the New World has been occupied by the Whitebeard Pirates, the Beasts Pirates, the Big Mob Pirates, and the Red Hair Pirates, becoming the 4 kings on the sea. This greatly encouraged countless pirates, and the arrogance that was originally suppressed by the 3 admirals of the Navy rose again. Of course, there are many conflicts among the 4 emperors, and they have fought each other, but that's another story. The second thing is that the Don Quixote family, the overlord of the North Sea, entered the New World and gained a foothold. As a result, a big man named Jeek appeared in the world below. In addition, there are naturally other things, such as the Navy kidnapping Vegapunk, Caesar Kilung's escape, and so on. However, these things are relatively secretive, and not many people know about them. There is only one truly earth-shattering event, that is, the Fishman Fisher Tiger climbed up Mary Geoise with his bare hands, and liberated thousands of celestial dragons***. This made the celestial dragons and the world government furious, and sent the 3 admirals of the Navy to hunt them down. But he still escaped from Fisher Tiger, and formed the Sun Pirates, which became famous for a while. The Navy has forced the Sun Pirates into a desperate situation many times. After Fisher Tiger was seriously injured, he was willing to accept human blood, so he was saved. Now they have entered the New World, and are protected by the world's strongest man, Whitebeard, leaving the Navy helpless. The Navy wanted to trade with Whitebeard, but when they knew that Whitebeard had a fishman captain under his command, they gave up the idea. This is not a big deal. What really troubles the Navy is that there is someone behind this Fisher Tiger. That person is the demon Chen Tian whom they tried their best to kill back then, because Fisher Tiger left a line of words in Mary Geoise, which said that I'm just exploring the way, and my teacher Chen Tian will come in person. Unfortunately, the world government and the Navy have not been able to track down the location of the demon Chen Tian, and only know that he has entered the calm belt. However, there are not many places where people can live in the calm belt, so the location can be determined quickly. Before that, they raised the bounty of the demon Chen Tian to 980 million baileys, equivalent to a vice captain. I don't know what expression Chen Tian will have when he sees his bounty. Finally, there are the changes of Chen Tian and others. This year, Robin is 13 years old, King Su is 20 years old, Yui is 18 years old, and Hancock is 17 years old. At the age of 17, Hancock has perfectly mastered the 3-color domineering. Although it has not reached the limit, it is not weaker than the Vice Admiral of the Navy. As for the other 3 women, they are not so strong. Their focus is not on strength, so they can barely deal with a pirate with a bounty of 10 million. If a pirate with a bounty of 20 million comes, it is estimated that the 3 of them will be killed together. Unless the pirate touches their navigation maps, history books, food ingredients and kitchen utensils. If someone really dares to do this, it is estimated that death is not far away. The 3 women are definitely bursting with potential. Of course, the one who has changed the most in the past few years is Chen Tian. His injuries have recovered by nearly half. Although his appetite has not decreased, the time he can attack with all his strength has reached 3 hours, which is barely enough. In addition, in these 4 years, he has learned and mastered the 3 colors of domineering. Among them, the observation color domineering can cover an island and has no special ability. The armed color domineering can cover the whole body. It is not the top level, but has reached an advanced level. The domineering color domineering has not changed much, but it can be controlled at will and single point oppression. The biggest change is actually his physical strength. After so many years, he doesn't know how many Sea Kings he has killed. After his physique was repeatedly improved, he had reached the level of Shichibuke, or the level of a substitute admiral or quasi-admiral. Although he was not yet an admiral's opponent, he would have no problem in a short-term direct confrontation. This short time refers to 3 hours, which is the limit time for Chen Tian to attack. Now, his system panel is like this. Host, Chen Tian, Physique, Navy Quasi-Admiral, Physique, Navy 6 styles, Perfect, Swordsmanship, Swordsman, 3-color Haki, Observation Haki, Intermediate, Armament Haki, Intermediate, Overlord Haki, Intermediate. Ability, Regeneration of broken limbs, Gravity space, Items, a fine long sword, a ship, Homecoming, some food, 825,820,000 baileys. With his current strength, he would have a foothold even in the New World. However, Chen Tian decided to collect devil fruits after his injuries were fully recovered. Otherwise, if the enemy delayed him for 3 hours, wouldn't he explode on the spot? But now it is almost time to leave Nine Snake Island and go to the East China Sea. Hancock's current strength has surpassed the former queen and is about the same as Chen Tian when he came to Nine Snake Island, which is enough to protect herself. Of course, the most crucial reason is that he has also seen the news and knows the big hat that Fisher Tiger has put on him. The Navy must be hunting him down with all his strength now. If he continues to stay on Nine Snake Island will inevitably suffer an unexpected disaster. So, early this morning, Chen Tian came to find Hancock and told her about this. Although Hancock was unwilling, she could not change Chen Tian's wishes and could only send someone to send them to the East China Sea. Before leaving, Chen Tian told Hancock that no matter who came, they should say that they had never seen him. After robbing the bull pirates, he left. Anyway, he has not shown up on Nine Snake Island in the past 4 years, and few people know of his existence, so it should be fine. Chapter 157, Staying in Shimashiki Village. After arranging everything and promising Hancock that he would come back to visit when he had time, Chen Tian left Nine Snake Island with Robin, Kingsu and Yurts. They headed all the way to the East China Sea, killing a few large Sea Kings from time to time, and the days passed quickly. Chen Tian's guess was correct. Not long after he left, the Navy really came to Nine Snake Island. After some inquiries and investigations, everyone on Nine Snake Island said that Chen Tian robbed a group of pirates near here 4 years ago and then disappeared. The Navy was powerless to do anything about this situation, mainly because they didn't expect Hancock to be so strong. Although Chen Tian was not found, another goal of the Navy was achieved, which was to make Hancock one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Hancock didn't want to be a pirate at first, but seeing that the Navy's warships could sail freely in the doldrums, for the safety of Nine Snake Island, she had to agree. In the past, the Navy couldn't come to Nine Snake Island, so they were naturally unscrupulous, but now the situation is different. During this period, Don Quixote Flamingo robbed a ship carrying Tenja gold and used it as a threat to become one of the 7 warlords of the sea. The remaining 5-7 warlords of the sea also took office one by one under the arrangement of the navy, forming a third party to fight against the 4 emperors. During this period, there were also many turmoils, including the navy, pirates, civilians and other parties. However, these had nothing to do with Chen Tian, so after taking a look, they were thrown behind. Because Chen Tian killed large sea kings from time to time, they walked in the windless belt for a full half a year before entering the East China Sea. Since everyone has arrived in the East China Sea, I will return to Nine Snake Island first. After saying this to Chen Tian and others, the leader drove the boat pulled by the giant snake away. Looking at the Sea King pulling the boat, Chen Tian gritted his teeth and wished he could kill it. It was because of its existence that they encountered very few Sea Kings along the way, which made him gain nothing. However, thinking that it was the wealth of Nine Snake Island and that she was the queen of Nine Snake Island, she forced herself to resist this impulse. Brother Chen Tian, where are we going now? Robin, who was already 1.65 meters tall, asked while hugging his arm. King Su and Yui beside him also looked over. Let's go to Shimashiki village first to find Yui's parents. We have been taking off our clothes for so long, we can't delay any longer. Chen Tian's tone was very firm. It was because of him that he delayed for so many years. Although Yui had not urged him, he felt bad. Sure enough, Yui's eyes were red when she heard Chen Tian's words. She wanted to say something, but didn't say it. King Su and Robin smiled at each other. Okay, stand up, we will go to Shimashiki village now. With a proud shout, the homecoming rushed towards Shimashiki village at the fastest speed. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Yui couldn't help it anymore, and tears kept falling from the corners of her eyes. Touching her hair, Chen Tian said softly, there is nothing to thank for. Aren't we a family? Yui kept nodding her head, but her tears still couldn't stop flowing. They have been together day and night for 4 years, plus 5 years on the ship before, so they have become family. And Yui also likes the days on the homecoming very much. She is carefree every day, as long as she does what she likes. After comforting Yui, the group rushed to Shimashiki village. Soon, they arrived at Shimashiki village. Yui hesitated and was a little afraid to get off the ship. Brother Chen Tian, what do you think if I can't find my parents? Yui's voice was a little trembling. In fact, she herself knew that the possibility of her parents being killed was the greatest, otherwise they would have gone back to find her long ago. Coming to Yui, holding her little hand, Chen Tian comforted her. It doesn't matter if your parents are not in Shimashiki village, we will live here for a few years. When there is nothing to do, you can also look for your parents everywhere in the East China Sea. Anyway, no matter where we are, we will always live for 5 years, right? Chen Tian's words gave Yui the courage to get off the ship with them. The pitiful expression of the natural and silly cook made Chen Tian and King Su Robin feel distressed. As soon as they got off the boat, they headed for the village to find someone to ask about the whereabouts of Yui's parents. But after a whole day, no one knew anything about them, which made Chen Tian and others feel depressed. It doesn't matter. Maybe they didn't come to this road, or were delayed by something. We will stay here and wait for them to come. Chen Tian couldn't think of any other way to comfort the natural cook. So, they found the village chief and bought a large house that could accommodate everyone. When the village chief took them to the house, Chen Tian suddenly found that there was a dojo next to it, named Ishin Dojo. Chen Tian remembered this name very clearly. Isn't it the place where Zoro learned swordsmanship? But it has nothing to do with him. If you are curious, you can look at it later. The most urgent thing is your own home. After looking around, everyone was satisfied, so they sent the village chief away and started to clean up. After an hour, this large house that can accommodate 7 or 8 people was cleaned up and became the new home of Chen Tian and others. Because Yui was in a bad mood, they comforted Yui for a while before going to bed. Back in his bedroom, Chen Tian knew that Yui's parents must have met with an accident. No, in this world, if a few people suddenly disappeared, the probability of not being discovered was too high. But even so, he had to help Yui continue to search. Starting tomorrow, the 3 girls can go out to sea to visit other islands. Anyway, there are not many people in the East China Sea who can hurt them. Thinking of Yui's parents, Chen Tian also thought of the old boatman who sent him to the homecoming. He agreed to the old boatman's request to find his son for him and gave him the letter. But after so many years, he still didn't have any news. It was such a failure. Taking out a photo of a 13 or 14-year-old boy, Chen Tian read out the name on it, Douglas Zoro. To be honest, Chen Tian had never said such a name in all these years. He even suspected that the old boatman's son would change his life, so it was so difficult to find. Of course, the biggest possibility is that he is dead, so there is no news. What is this? What's the difference between looking for people in this ocean and looking for a needle in a haystack? He shook his head and said with a sigh, looking for a needle in a haystack can at least confirm that the needle is on the bottom of the sea, but now he doesn't know whether these people are still alive. But the next moment, Chen Tian regained his fighting spirit. Since he had agreed, he had to do it, even if it was difficult. Chapter 158 Kishiro's Family. On the second morning, Robin, Yui, and Kiyoyuki went to the village to stroll around, and by the way, they listened to the news about Yui's parents. Chen Tian, who was alone, had nothing to do, and was a little bored, so he thought about going to the next door to get to know his neighbors. Although the Aishin dojo is not well known, the people inside are not simple, let alone Zoro, who will definitely become the world's #1 swordsman in the future. The owner Kishiro alone is not a simple person. But think about it, Zoro is still a little kid now, and he should not have joined the Aishin dojo. Without thinking too much, Chen Tian just staggered to the door of the Aishin dojo. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Before entering the door, Chen Tian heard the voices of a group of children inside. They were working hard to learn swordsmanship. With a slight smile, Chen Tian pushed the door open and walked in, and saw the scene inside the dojo. The dojo is not very big, but it is more than enough to accommodate more than 20 children. At this time, more than a dozen children were waving wooden swords in the yard. After seeing Chen Tian coming in, the young man who led the children to practice swordplay trotted all the way to Chen Tian and asked politely, "Sir, are you here to learn swordplay at Yixin dojo?" Their dojo relies on the tuition fees of these people to make a living, and the more they can have, the better. Chen Tian naturally saw what he was thinking, shook his head and said, "I just moved next door, so I came here to get to know my neighbors." "So it was you who moved in yesterday. I'll go tell the master now. Please wait in the hall." After knowing that Chen Tian was not here to become a disciple, the young man was a little disappointed, but still warm and polite. He is worthy of being taught by Kishiro. Chen Tian nodded secretly in his heart. Although he is almost 20 years old, because of the system transformation, his appearance looks like he is just about 20 years old. The other party did not judge people by appearance, which is commendable. A few minutes after the young man went in, a man in a kimono and wooden clogs came out, followed by a little girl of 4 or 5 years old. The moment he saw Chen Tian, Kishiro did not show any expression, but his heart was filled with shock. This young man looks young, but his strength is unfathomable. Throughout his life, he has not met many people stronger than him. Then Kishiro quickly recalled whether he had offended anyone in these years, and was found by others. After thinking about it, and confirming that he had not, he breathed a sigh of relief and smiled again. Chen Tian naturally saw Kishiro for the first time and subconsciously narrowed his eyes. Because Kishiro was like a sharp sword that had left his body, it actually made people feel stinging in the eyes. It is hard to say whether the other party is as strong as him, but his cultivation in the way of swordsmanship is not ordinary. It's just that it is easy to break when it is too hard, and it has not yet reached the point of returning to nature, which is a bit of a pity. "Come on, come in." Kishiro welcomed Chen Tian into the house without saying a word. Chen Tian was not polite either, and the two entered the room one after the other, and sat facing each other. Just as they sat down, a middle-aged lady with a charming demeanor came out, and poured tea for the two of them. "Madam, you don't have to be so polite. I stayed next door yesterday, and came here to get to know my neighbors." Chen Tian smiled politely. After seeing this woman, he knew why Kishiro was so aggressive. Kishiro is still young now, just over 30 years old, and his wife is still alive, so he has not learned to be restrained. After adding tea, the woman smiled kindly at Chen Tian and left with the little girl, leaving only Chen Tian and Koshiro. After knowing Chen Tian's purpose, Koshiro stopped thinking about it, and the two chatted about everything. During this time, Chen Tian also confirmed his guess that the little girl was Koshiro's daughter, Gina. To be honest, Chen Tian also has swordsmanship at the level of a swordsman. He liked to use it when he was weak, but it was not good enough compared to the great swordsman Koshiro. So after chatting for a while, he changed the subject and talked to Koshiro about kendo and asked for advice by the way. When Koshiro learned that Chen Tian also knew swordsmanship, he was overjoyed and immediately talked more. Just this time, Koshiro felt that this young man was very good and suited his taste. He was strong, not arrogant, knew when to advance and retreat, and could do kendo. He could tell a lot of advantages of Chen Tian in just one sentence. So the two of them got along better and better, and they became happier and happier, and before they knew it, it was getting dark. After discussing kendo with Koshiro, Chen Tian felt that he had benefited a lot, but it was getting late, so he should leave. It's getting late today, so I'll leave first. I'll come back to consult Mr. Koshiro when I have time. Chen Tian stood up and said politely. Koshiro helped him a lot, and he deserved his politeness. Seeing that Chen Tian was about to leave, Koshiro tried to keep him and invited him to finish his meal. But the three girls at home should have come back, so Chen Tian declined. After agreeing to come often, he left. When Chen Tian left, he saw a little girl sticking her little head out of the corner of the door, looking at him curiously. This little girl. He shook his head with amusement and smiled at Gina. But Gina was so scared that she quickly retracted her little head and dared not look at him anymore. After returning, the three girls had indeed returned, and Yui had prepared dinner. During the meal, Chen Tian introduced them to Koshiro's family so that they could get familiar with their neighbors. So, is there any news? After eating, Chen Tian asked the three girls. No. Shaking her head, Yui said with some disappointment, they should not have been to this island. In fact, Yui herself had her own guesses, but she was unwilling to face such facts. And her mentality was optimistic enough, so she always held a hope. As long as no bodies were seen, no one knew whether they were still alive. This was Yui's greatest hope. Since there is no news on the island, when you want to go out, drive the boat to other islands to have a look. After knocking on the table, Chen Tian came up with this idea. Anyway, with Kingsu's personality, it would be impossible for her to stay, and she would definitely pull Yui and Robin out to play. In this case, why not let them stop playing and help Yui get information? As for Chen Tian himself, it is impossible for him to leave this island. It will take another 5 years to recover from his injuries, and it would be a waste to spend it like this. If I remember correctly, Koshiro's wife has some relationship with the Revolutionary Army, and Long will come here sooner or later. He is waiting for Long to come here and find a way to trade some devil fruits with him. He still has nearly 1 billion on him, and if he buys the least valuable animal type devil fruit, he can buy about 10. Anyway, when the system absorbs, it does not distinguish what kind of devil fruit it is, whether the fruit is strong or weak. Although the number is not large, it is much better than nothing. I believe that with what he said at the beginning, Long should give him a face and make this deal. Now all that is left is to wait quietly, ask Koshiro for some swordsmanship, and continue to strengthen his strength. After confirming the future plan, Chen Tian went back to his room and fell asleep. Chapter 159 Meeting with the Dragon. It has been nearly half a year since the last visit to Koshiro's house. During this time, Chen Tian and the three girls have become familiar with Koshiro's family. Because of the long-term consultation with Koshiro, Chen Tian's swordsmanship has also made great progress. Although it is not yet at the level of a great swordsman, it can be ranked among the best among swordsmen. Similarly, during this half year, Kingsu took Yui and Robin out frequently, both for fun and to find out information. Unfortunately, until now, they have not found any news about Yui's parents. Yui did not feel sad about this, but was somewhat fortunate, because she was afraid of getting some bad news. For her now, no news is the best news. Apart from this, their lives are relatively peaceful, without any waves. But on this day, a strange big ship came to the island, and the people on it entered the Aishin dojo at night. In the Aishin dojo, Gina had already woken up, while Koshiro and his wife were meeting guests. Opposite them, 3 people were sitting in a row. The leader was wearing a green robe, with a very ferocious tattoo on his face. The second one was a slapping man in women's clothing, with an exaggerated makup. The last one looked like a bear. Long, I wonder what you are doing here this time. Looking at his wife, Koshiro asked helplessly. He didn't want to get involved in these things, but his wife was a member of the gemming army, so he couldn't do anything. Mr. Koshiro, excuse me. After being polite, Long began to explain his purpose. I came here this time to borrow a batch of food from Mr. Koshiro. When he said this, Long blushed a little because he knew he would definitely not be able to pay it back, and it was completely useless. Okay, but the quantity is not much. For the sake of his wife, Koshiro agreed. After the serious talk, the atmosphere between the two sides eased a little, and they began to chat. While chatting, Ivankov asked who lived next door to Aishin dojo, and why he had never seen him before. The little brother next door moved in half a year ago. His name is Chen Tian. He is a very nice person and his strength is unfathomable. Speaking of Chen Tian, even Koshiro became more talkative. After 6 months of getting along, the two of them are almost close friends. But after hearing the name Chen Tian, Long's brows slowly frowned. When Koshiro said that his strength was unfathomable, his face became happy. If the name Chen Tian is a duplicate, the strength can't be similar, right? There is only one person named Chen Tian with unfathomable strength, a demon species with a bounty of nearly 1 billion. And the demon species Chen Tian has an unknown identity, that is, the gem instructor of the gem army. I didn't expect that. After parting 5 years ago, there would be a chance to see each other again. At that moment, Long couldn't wait to ask, then Chen Tian has purple hair, and is there 3 little girls around him? He has been paying attention to Chen Tian's news, and naturally he knows about the 3 girls. The Navy's bounty order clearly states it. After seeing Koshiro nod, Long was more certain of his guess and said immediately, Sir Koshiro, Mr. Chen Tian is the mentor of my gemming army. I will go to visit him now. Goodbye. After saying that, he ignored the dumbfounded Koshiro and pulled Ivankov and action to the next door. 5 years ago, even if he offered the position of leader, he couldn't make Chen Tian stay. This time he wanted to give it a try. The things that Chen Tian told him 5 years ago were too amazing. Even now, they have been spreading in the organization and are still the core. If Chen Tian is willing to join, why should they worry about not being able to accomplish great things? Even if he has to pay the position of leader, he will invite Chen Tian back. Be polite after entering, don't talk nonsense. After admonishing the two, Long began to knock on the door. Ivankov's face was full of curiosity. How could he not know that there was such a person in the organization? But because of Long's admonition, he resisted asking. Daxing, who had a paralyzed face on the side, didn't have any expression, but his eyes also showed doubts. Come in. The voice came from the room. Long tidied his clothes and pushed open the door. Chen Tian's observation haki can cover an island. He discovered Long and others when they landed. Guessing that Long would come to visit him, Chen Tian has been waiting. I haven't seen you for 5 years, and you are still so young. Looking at Chen Tian's face, that has not changed at all. Long couldn't help but sigh. Then he was not polite, and took Ivankov and Daziang to sit opposite Chen Tian. When he saw Ivankov, although he had been prepared for a long time, Chen Tian still felt that it was hot. The Shemel King, this is the Shemel King, and he is still alive. It's too hot to the eyes. But Chen Tian didn't have any bad feelings towards him, he just felt that it was hot. Chen Tian and Long chatted for a few words, and Ivankov and Daziang listened quietly. After declining Long's invitation again, Chen Tian began to discuss the purchase of devil fruits. Unfortunately, this transaction did not succeed. It was not that Long did not give Chen Tian face, but that their organization could not produce so many devil fruits. The current gemming army is still weak, having been established for less than 5 years, so any devil fruit that is obtained is digested internally as soon as possible. Originally weak, they were chased by the Navy and had to hide everywhere, like rats crossing the street. If they don't strengthen themselves, wouldn't they be a fool? Therefore, there is not a single devil fruit in their organization now. Chen Tian was a little disappointed that the deal was not reached, but he didn't mean to blame Long. If he were Long, he would definitely do the same. It was normal. However, Long still promised him that he would help him collect devil fruits in the future and bring them all to him. Chen Tian was very satisfied with this, so he told Long some advanced ideas to help him find the direction. When Chen Tian was talking, Long took out paper and pen from somewhere and wrote down all his words in a small notebook. Ivankov and Action listened with their eyes wide open, wishing to tie Chen Tian back. The ideas this man said were simply too suitable for their organization. Even Long didn't have such excellent ideas. However, thinking of Long's previous explanation, the two still forced themselves to hold back and carefully memorize Chen Tian's words. This chat lasted the whole night until the next morning, when Long's men told him that all the food had been moved, and then they got up and left. Before leaving, Long also promised to help Chen Tian find news about Tesoro and Yui's parents. After leaving Chen Tian's house, Ivankov, who had been silent for a night, couldn't help asking, Long, who is that gentleman? Him. Looking at the sky in the distance, Long said firmly, he is the gemming mentor, the great man who guides the gemming direction. Hearing Long's high evaluation, Ivankov and Action did not refute, but nodded in agreement. Long, should we tie Mr. Chen Tian back? Ivankov was a little eager to do it. Long waved his hand and warned, don't think too much, his strength is not weaker than mine, there is no chance. After a pause, Long continued, even if there is a chance, we can't do this. Chen Tian is their hope, a hope that must not be offended. Ivankov naturally knew the situation, but thinking of what Chen Tian said before, he couldn't help thinking about it. Before leaving, the three of them saluted in the direction of Chen Tian to express their gratitude, and then boarded the boat and left. Chapter 160, Zoro enters the dojo. In the blink of an eye, Chen Tian has lived here for 4 years, and even Robin has grown into a big girl. In the past few years, the three girls have almost traveled all over the East China Sea, looking for news about Yui's parents, but unfortunately they have found nothing. During this period, Long also came to give Chen Tian a devil fruit. According to his requirements, they were all animal type, and no one wanted them in the animal type. For example, the 7-spot ladybug fruit, the hamster fruit, etc., a total of 6. For this reason, Chen Tian's 800 million baileys were less than 200 million. Fortunately Long did not collect them. In addition, he gave Chen Tian the news he wanted. Even their organization could not find Yui's parents. The sea is too big. Instead, the old boatman's son Tesoro has some news, although it is not known whether it is accurate. In the new world, there is the world's largest consumer vault, and his owner is called Tesoro. This Tesoro was a slave in his early years. Later, he was rescued by Doflamingo and got the devil fruit before he became a slave. The old boatman's son Tesoro was also abducted by human traffickers, which is quite consistent. But regardless of whether this Tesoro is the one he is looking for, Chen Tian decided to go and take a look. Of course, this is not now, but after next year. Now his injuries have recovered by 90%, and the rest is not a big deal. But before the injury is fully recovered, he can't control his appetite. He doesn't want to eat while fighting. Early in the morning, Chen Tian was awakened by the noisy sound outside, and had no choice but to get up and take a look. Robin, Kingsu, and Yui were not at home. I don't know which island they are on. It's not easy to have no one to run errands for him. After washing up, Chen Tian followed the sound to Ishin Dojo. As soon as he opened the door, he saw a young man with green algae hair. Ah, Zoro is here so soon. Chen Tian became a little interested and prepared to continue watching. I'm here to challenge you. If you lose, you have to give me food. Zoro's nose was up, arrogant. But looking at the posture of him holding the wooden sword, it is obvious that he has never learned kendo, but he is very talented. Without any previous training, Zoro's first sword holding posture was very standard, and he was indeed a good candidate. Mr. Chen Tian. Brother Chen Tian. The disciples in the dojo and kin greeted Chen Tian respectfully. They had known Chen Tian for many years, so they naturally had a very good relationship. Chen Tian nodded, said hello to Koshiro, and sat down to watch the show. If I remember correctly, the next scene was Kina hanging Zoro up and beating him. If there was no camera, he would have even wanted to record this moment. Zoro's embarrassing moments were rare. But Chenshin never expected that. When Zoro saw that no one was paying attention to him, he actually pointed the finger at Chenshin. "Hey, you arrogant guy, you are the one who will accept my challenge." Pointing at Chenshin with a wooden sword, Zoro looked like he deserved a beating, and he was trying his best to provoke Chenshin. "It was this arrogant guy who came in and interrupted my challenge, so you can take his place." Zoro had a clear account of this in his mind, and he was willing to fight for a meal. "Me?" Chenshin pointed at his nose in disbelief and asked Zoro. "On this island, although Kushiro's swordsmanship is the strongest, he is the strongest in terms of strength, and even Kushiro is not his opponent. Is Zoro so brave?" On the other side, seeing Zoro's fearless look, Kina was holding back her laughter. Half a year ago, she witnessed the battle between her father and Chenshin with her own eyes. Her father won in swordsmanship, but Chenshin won in battle. Kina still can't forget the earth-shaking scene at that time. This green algae-headed man is really visionary. He wants to challenge the strongest person right away. But she still forced herself to hold back, waiting to see Chenshin beat the green algae-headed man. There is no way. Since Chenshin saved her mother 3 years ago, Kina has been very close to Chenshin. After 3 years with Chenshin, her personality has become more and more like Chenshin, and even Kushiro is a little helpless. Now he said that Kina was a girl and could not become the world's #1 swordsman. Kina did not pay any attention to him and only believed what Chenshin said. It even made Kushiro feel that he had lost his little cotton padded jacket. Under Kina's gaze, Chenshin nodded with a smile and said, "Okay, then I'll play with you." After the words fell, Chenshin bent down and picked up a branch as thick as a thumb and held it casually in his hand. What should I do if the naughty child is naughty? Just beat him up. So Chenshin decided to beat Zoro up now and let him know what it means to be unworthy of the world. "Are you looking down on me? You actually hit me with a branch?" Zoro was almost furious. Chenshin nodded indifferently. "I can't find a worse weapon than this." When saying this, I don't know why, Chenshin thought of the knife when Hawkeye and Zoro fought in the original book, and he felt so involved. With his current strength, he would not panic, even if he fought with the Admiral of the Navy. It was bullying enough to fight Zoro with a branch. But Zoro didn't know Chenshin's strength, so he naturally didn't think so. He shouted angrily and rushed up with 5, 6, 7, or 8 wooden swords. When he came in front of Chenshin, there was only one wooden sword left. But before he could make a move, Chenshin raised his right hand high and hit him hard on the forehead. Bang! The branch hit Zoro's head, and a blood-red mark immediately appeared, which was obviously swollen. Without even a cry, Zoro fell backward slowly with white smoke coming out of his head. Although Chenshin used 99.9% of his strength, he still knocked Zoro unconscious. Throwing away the branch, Chenshin pointed at Zoro on the ground and said, "Find a place and wait for him to wake up." Several assistants in the dojo took Zoro away and settled him in the dojo. "Why are you interested in playing with children today?" Kushiro smiled at Chenshin. "Oh, stop talking." Waving his hands, Chenshin said, "I was sleeping well, but he woke me up. Let's teach him a lesson." "You are still so petty, brother Chenshin." Before Jinshiro could speak, Guaina had already hugged Chenshin's arm. Seeing Guaina's actions, Jinshiro's eyes went dark, and he glared at Chenshin fiercely. Looking at the situation, his little cotton padded jacket no longer belonged to him. "Don't talk nonsense. Who is petty?" Rubbing Guaina's soft hair, Chenshin threatened fiercely, "If you dare to ruin my reputation again, I won't let you enter the house." But Chenshin didn't see that when he said this, all the disciples of the dojo around him rolled their eyes. In the past few years, none of them had not been beaten by Chenshin. Anyone who disturbed his sleep in the morning, except Guaina, would be too unacceptable. It was simply too scary. Guaina was naturally not afraid of Chenshin's warning. She stuck out her tongue and ran to practice swordsmanship. Brother Chenshin told her stories about Navy Staff Officer Crane, Pirate Queen Hancock and others, telling her that girls can also be strong. Therefore, now Kina is training harder, and her strength is much stronger than in the original book. Anyway, According to Chen Tian's perspective, Zoro had more than 2,000 defeats in the original book, but now it may be 4 or 5 times. And even so, he doesn't know if he can beat Kina in the future. This girl is very talented. After beating up the person who disturbed him from staying in bed, Chen Tian was in a very good mood, humming a little tune, and went back to have breakfast. It should be breakfast, right? Looking at the sun hanging in the sky, Chen Tian himself was a little uncertain. Chapter 161 Robin Yui Danger. It has been more than a year since Zoro joined Aishin Dojo, and Chen Tian now has a follower who keeps yelling that he will defeat him in the future, which annoys him. Fortunately, Kina is here. Every time Zoro says such things, Kina will beat him up in the name of sparring, which reduces a lot of trouble for Chen Tian. This day was supposed to be the day when Robin and the other 2 girls came back, but they didn't see anyone until night fell. Although the 3 of them often go out, they have never been late even once, so Chen Tian is a little anxious. It is true that the East China Sea is the weakest sea, but there are also many strong people here. I won't say much about the others. The Navy hero Garp and the 4 Emperor's red hair Shanks are now in the East China Sea. In a hurry, Chen Tian came to the coast alone and found a boat less than 2 meters long and wanted to go out to sea. The homecoming was driven out by the 3 girls, and he had no other boats now, so he could only do this. When he got on the boat and was ready to set off, he saw a ship in the distance coming at a very fast speed. After a closer look, it was the homecoming that the 3 girls had taken away. Chen Tian immediately relaxed. Although it was a little over, as long as they were back and safe, it was fine. The homecoming in the distance seemed to have seen Chen Tian as well, and quickly stopped beside him. Before Chen Tian could speak, 3 girls came down from the ship, but this person was completely different from what Chen Tian had imagined. There were 3 girls, one big and two small. The big one was his own navigator Kingsu, but who were these 2 girls, who were 8 or 9 years old? Before he could ask, Kingsu rushed over in an instant and pulled him on board. And she said anxiously, "Brother Chen Tian, hurry up and come with me to save Robin and Yui. They are in danger." Chen Tian's heart suddenly sank, and he grabbed Kingsu and the 2 little girls and jumped directly onto the ship. When the ship turned and drove quickly, Chen Tian asked with a gloomy face, "What's going on?" The 3 girls have been with him for 10 years, and their relationship is not that simple. Now they actually told him that Robin and Yui were in danger. How could Chen Tian not be anxious in this situation? How could he not be furious? He wanted to fly over immediately and tear the people who hurt Robin and Yui to pieces. Kingsu also knew that the situation was urgent. She didn't care whether Chen Tian was angry or not, and spoke at a very fast speed. It turned out that the 3 of them had been looking for news on the islands in the East China Sea, and they had almost found everything over the years. This time they went to Kokoa West Village, where they wanted to get information and buy some oranges for Chen Tian. Because they knew that the oranges there were very famous, the 3 women decided to do so. But unexpectedly, when they went to Kokoa West Village, a group of fishermen also fell there. Originally, the 3 women didn't care, but when the fishermen started to collect protection fees and kill people, the kind-hearted 3 women couldn't bear it. They acted in time and saved a woman named Belmia, but they had a conflict with the fishermen. Their strength was not strong, but under Chen Tian's teaching, they were not defeated by a fisherman. But no one expected that these fishermen would sneak attack and injure Robin, making her lose the ability to fight. Although Robin is the youngest, only 18 years old, she is a devil fruit user and the first person to follow Chen Tian. She is the strongest among the 3 girls. After she lost her fighting ability, the 3 girls were naturally no match for the fishmen, so they could only flee with Belmia and her 2 daughters. They hid in the mountains behind the Kokoa West Village, so that the fishmen could not find them for a while. But unexpectedly, the fishermen wanted to block the island, so Kingsu had to leave first and ask Chen Tian for rescue. Now Robin, Yui and Belmia are still in the mountains behind the Kokoa West Village, and no one knows when they will be found. After listening to Kingsu, Chen Tian knew who this group of people was at the first time. Wait for me to cut you into pieces. Gritting his teeth, these words came out one by one, and Chen Tian's face was darker than ever. After Kingsu finished speaking, he already knew that the two little girls beside him were Nami and Nakiko, but he was not in the mood to talk to them now. So Chen Tian sat directly at the bow, looking straight into the distance, waiting to arrive at the Konoha West village. Behind him, the young Nami and Nakiko looked at Chen Tian with some fear. Their timid appearance made people pity them. This man was so terrifying that the two wanted to get off the boat immediately and stay away from him. But thinking that this man was Belmia's hope, they forced themselves to endure it. Although Kingsu was also anxious, she felt more relieved after seeing Chen Tian, so she came over to comfort the two. Touching the pink and purple hair of the two people with her hands, Kingsu said gently, "Don't worry, the big brother in front is the most powerful person in the East China Sea, and he can definitely save your mother." For Chen Tian, she has an almost mindless admiration, believing that he can do everything. The younger Nami asked timidly, "Is he more powerful than those fishmen?" "Yes." Kingsu nodded and said firmly, "All those fishmen added together are not as powerful as him." After so many years of experience, no one knows Chen Tian's strength better than the three of them. What is a fishman? It is nothing in the Grand Line. But what about Chen Tian? The Navy's bounty is close to 1 billion. In fact, it is not surprising that Nami and Nakiko are suspicious, because the strongest people they have seen since childhood are those fishmen, and they can't imagine Chen Tian's strength at all. This is determined by seeing. Just like in the original work, Nami was afraid of killing Luffy and others and left secretly. If you throw Nami back, when Luffy became the 5th emperor, even if she is not an opponent of Arlong, she will never be afraid. Because she has seen too many strong people. Arlong is nothing. This is called seeing. Now what Nami and Nakiko lack is this, and Kingsu and the other two girls already have it. This night passed like this. Kingsu was at the helm, and with the extreme speed of the homecoming, the 3 days were suppressed to less than 1 day. Until noon the next day, Chen Tian was still sitting on the bow like a statue. Kingsu looked at him worriedly, returned to the inheritance, and took out a lot of food, and placed it next to Chen Tian. Although Chen Tian's injuries have been completely recovered, the appetite he has developed over the past 10 years cannot be changed. "Brother Chen Tian, we are about to arrive. You should eat something." Kingsu's soft voice was full of worry. Chen Tian glanced at her, knowing that she was worried about him, and started eating without saying anything. When everything was finished, the location of Konoha West Village could be seen from a distance, although it was just a small black dot. "Kingsu, take your time with the two little girls. I'll go up and take a look first," Chen Tian said in a hoarse voice, and jumped into the sea, swimming forward at a speed far faster than the homecoming, leaving the homecoming behind in a minute. In just 10 minutes, Chen Tian landed and came to the island. "First go find Robin and Yui, then go kill that bastard Aaron." The next moment, Chen Tian's figure disappeared on the shore. In fact, he was also quite strange. Fisher Tiger listened to him and did not die. Why did Aaron still come to the East China Sea? But these are still aside. The most urgent task is to find Robin and Yui. Soon, Chen Tian entered Konoha West Village and found the security officer Aegean. On this island, if anyone can find Belemia's hiding place, it must be him. At this time, Aegean is still young, not as old as when the plot began. "Who are you?" Seeing Chen Tian suddenly appear, Aegean picked up the stick beside him and looked at him vigilantly. Chen Tian took a step forward, crushed the stick into powder, and said sternly, "I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Take me to find where Robin and Yui are hiding." If they were looking for Belma, Aegean would rather die than take him there, but Yui and Robin were different. Although they are together now, this is inevitable. Sure enough, after hearing what Chen Tian said, Aegean's eyes lit up and asked, "Are you the Chen Tian those two girls were talking about?" Chapter 162, Kick One by One. "It's me. Take me to find them now." An anxious Chen Tian grabbed Aegean's shoulders and lifted her out. Okay, I'll take you there right now." Aegean was also a little excited. He felt down and trotted all the way to the back mountain. Since Chen Tian was going to find Yui and Robin, he must be their companions. Because except for Aegean, all the villagers didn't know their names, and the fishman couldn't use this to deceive him. If Chen Tian dared to say that he was going to find Belmere, a giant would definitely regard him as a lie sent by the fishman, and would definitely not say anything. Along the way, neither Chen Tian nor Ray Jian spoke, but just walked forward with their heads covered. After walking for about half an hour, a giant, relying on his familiarity with the terrain, bypassed all the fishermen and came to a cave. It's inside. They are inside. A giant pointed at the cave breathlessly, and even his waist couldn't stand up straight. But seeing that Chen Tian's face was not red and his breath was not out of breath, his two eyes were shining. With this, Chen Tian has proved his strength. Kokoja village and Belmere may be saved. Chen Tian didn't bother to care what he was thinking. After confirming it, he jumped into the cave as soon as he was sure. The whole cave was dark and damp, which made people feel uncomfortable as soon as they entered. In the deepest part of the cave, 3 women sat here with sad faces. Although Belmere and Yui were embarrassed and looked dirty, they were not injured. Only Robin was pale, with a thick white cloth wrapped around his waist, and blood was faintly seeping out. Let's make a fire, otherwise Robin won't be able to hold on for long. Belmere was a little anxious, but Robin shook his head and said, no, making a fire will attract those fishmen. We can't escape in our current situation. Although his tone was weak, it was very firm. No need to make a fire, I'll take you away from here. Just then, Chen Tian walked in step by step and came to Robin. Brother Chen Tian, I knew you would come. A stunning smile flashed across Robin's pale face, but unfortunately Chen Tian had no time to appreciate it now. After checking Robin's injuries, he found a huge knife wound on his abdomen, which almost cut Robin in half. He gently wrapped her up, hugged Robin like a princess, and said gently, Brother Chen Tian will take you to kill people now. Kill those fishmen who dare to hurt you. Then he turned to Yui and said, you have worked hard, let's go home. Hearing Chen Tian's words, especially the word go home, Yui almost cried out. But thinking of Robin's injuries, she still forced herself to hold back the desire to cry, nodded with tears in her eyes, and pulled Belmere to follow Chen Tian. After coming out, Chen Tian immediately asked Ajian to find the best doctor at his home as quickly as possible. He held Robin and kept steady as he hurried on his way. In order to prevent Robin from suffering secondary trauma, Chen Tian was very steady all the way, but he could not speed up. Even so, Yui and Belmere struggled to catch up. When they returned to Jian's house, there was already someone waiting with Jian. This is the best doctor in Kokoja village. Jian stood up and pointed at the doctor. Chen Tian nodded, gently put Robin on the bed, and said coldly, heal her, I will kill Along to save your village. Along must be killed, and Robin's revenge must be avenged, but this doctor must do his best. The doctor nodded hurriedly and said, don't worry, it was this girl who saved Belmere and saved us. I will definitely do my best. Before coming, he had already considered the result, that he would be killed after being discovered by the fishmen. But thinking of Robin and others helping them before, the doctor still came without hesitation. After opening the white cloth, looking at Robin's injuries, the doctor frowned and said to Jian without turning his head, bring me the medical box, take out the alcohol, surgical needles, and threads inside facing the patient. The doctor immediately entered the state and quickly thought of the best plan. Before Jian could make any move, Chen Tian immediately followed the doctor's instructions and took out the items one by one. Seeing Jian's actions, the doctor was stunned for a moment and then started the treatment. This injury is really terrible. If Robin hadn't had a good physique, she probably wouldn't have survived until now. Chen Tian secretly felt lucky that this was the pirate world. Bang, bang, bang. About half an hour later, there was a knock on the door. When Jian was about to check, Chen Tian had already released his observation haki. In an instant, he sensed the presence of Kingsu and Naminakiko outside the door. Open the door, my companions and Naminakiko are outside. As soon as the cold voice sounded, Belmere ran to open the door. After entering, Belmere hurriedly checked whether Nami and Nakiko were injured, but she also kept silent. Instead, Kingsu came to Chen Tian and said softly, we were discovered by the fishmen when we came here. They are probably going to catch up with us. It's okay, I'll wait for them. Chen Tian's eyes turned cold, and then he stopped paying attention. After about an hour, The doctor finished bandaging Robin with sweat all over his forehead and said weakly, "She is out of danger and she can recover in about 2 months." The doctor was old and he was shaking all over after treating her so attentively for nearly 2 hours. But when he heard his words, Chen Tian breathed a sigh of relief and finally felt relieved. At this time, Robin slowly woke up, looked at Chen Tian and smiled gently. "Brother Chen Tian, I'm fine." "Yeah." Nodding, he stepped forward and gently picked up Robin, and Chen Tian said, "Everyone who should come is here. Now Brother Chen Tian will take you to kill people." In his observation haki, Aaron had already brought all the fishmen over, and they were only a few hundred meters away from Magian's house. "Yeah." Sticking tightly to Chen Tian's chest, Robin showed a smile on her pale little face. Chen Tian held Robin, followed by Yui, Kingsu, Belmia, Nakiko, Nami, Aegean and the doctor, and went out. When they came out, as expected, Aaron came over with his people. Looking at Chen Tian and others, Aaron laughed out loud. "You dare to break my rules and kill my compatriots? Try to run again." The ugly face became even more hideous and ugly under this crazy smile. Chen Tian's eyes flashed, and he disappeared with Robin in his arms. When he reappeared, he was already in the pile of fishmen. Under his feet, there was a bloody fishman with his head crushed. Looking at Aaron with murderous eyes, Chen Tian asked calmly, "What can you do if you kill your compatriots? You are looking for death. Come on." Aaron was furious and waved his hand to let everyone rush up. Chen Tian seemed to be strolling in the garden, and he could kill a fishman with every step, and only stepped on the head. In just 5 seconds, there were 7 more fishmen corpses under his feet, scaring the other fishmen to retreat continuously. Naminoki and others looked at Chen Tian's appearance. Not only did they not feel scared, but their eyes were full of stars. Even a few adults looked at him with incredible eyes, and then they were ecstatic. As long as all these fishmen are dead, the Kokosi village will be freed, and will no longer be oppressed by them. But Arlong was going crazy. He left the Grand Line and came to the East China Sea because he wanted to build a kingdom of fishmen. Fisher Tiger has always been friendly to humans because of a human, and even his men think so. But Arlong thinks that fishmen are supreme and humans should crawl at the feet of fishmen, so he secretly left the Sun Pirates. And now, someone dares to slaughter fishmen in front of him, which is simply unbearable. Human, your strength is actually good, but the strength of fishmen is naturally 10 times that of humans. Watch me tear you apart bit by bit. Arlong's expression became more and more ferocious, and he scared Namikaze so much that she retreated again and again. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163, Aaron's Death. Chen Tian just glanced at him indifferently, without any expression, and did not speak to him. He usually did not bother to look at such a rubbish. The power of fishmen is 10 times that of humans. So who is being captured and sold for money every day? Who wants to leave the deep sea every day and keeps asking humans? You are so powerful, why don't you go to the new world to fight, but run to the weakest sea, the East China Sea, to dominate? You are so powerful, why do you bribe the rats to let him cooperate with you? All these things show that Aaron is a rubbish, and he is also bullying the weak and afraid of the strong. He is still deceiving himself every day, saying some noble words about fishmen. For such a thing, Chen Tian was too lazy to waste a little more words with him. Since he hurt Robin, he would trample all the fishmen he cherished to death and let him experience the pain of losing his compatriots. He was nakedly tearing his noble ideas of fishmen apart, so that he knew what pain was. He was proud of being treated so carefully by Chen Tian because of Robin. Otherwise, even if Aaron lived his whole life, there would probably not be such a strong man to deal with him carefully. Seeing Chen Tian ignoring him, Aaron became even more furious and chased Chen Tian to chop him. But he couldn't catch up with Chen Tian at all and could only watch him kick one fishman after another, unable to stop him at all. Stop right there. Fight me if you dare. But no matter how he roared and yelled, he couldn't stop Chen Tian from continuing to act. In a few minutes, only Aaron was left among the fishmen present, and the others all became caviar. Die. Die. You die for me. Aaron had already started to go crazy. His eyes were red, and he looked like a madman. Heh. Chen Tian sneered and mocked. Is this what you call the nobility of fishmen? Then why can't you take a single move? Die. I'm going to kill you. Aaron became even more crazy, wishing to tear Chen Tian apart bite by bite. Looking at Aaron's exasperated look, Chen Tian still felt that it was not enough. How could the matter of hurting Robin end so easily? Then he said, don't you look down on humans? Then why did you run back from the Grand Line to the weakest sea to be the king? Since you are so noble, why don't you kill the 4 emperors and dominate the new world? Chen Tian's words were like sharp scissors, constantly piercing Along's heart. But apart from roaring and shouting, he couldn't touch a corner of Chen Tian's clothes at all, and could only be furious. At this time, Kokoja village suddenly became lively, and all the villagers rushed over with hoes and other things. Everyone, come together, kill those fishmen, and don't let them hurt our benefactor. Save the benefactor, fight with the fishmen. Save the benefactor, fight with the fishmen. Save the benefactor, fight with the fishmen. Waves of shouts rang out, and these people soon surrounded Ajan's residence. But after seeing the scene, they seemed to be choked, and opened their eyes wide and couldn't speak. What's going on? We are all ready to fight, but why did these fishmen die? It would be fine if he died, but he died so miserably, he turned into caviar. Looking at the caviar all over the ground, some villagers couldn't help swallowing their saliva. They wanted to eat it. Chen Tian felt warm in his heart. Robin and King Zhuai did not save these people in vain. They even knew how to be grateful. Then he looked at Along with disgust. I'm not interested in playing with you anymore. I'm going to send you to death now. After the words fell, Chen Tian suddenly appeared in front of Along, and his right leg whipped Along's head like a whip. Crack. 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 The continuous sound of bones breaking came, and the villagers around shuddered. What a miserable death. It hurts to hear it. Good death. These fishmen deserve to die. Kill them all. Ha 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 ha. I asked you to kill people, and it's finally your turn to be killed. The villagers looked at Along's miserable condition, and they didn't feel sorry for him, but applauded one by one. When Along killed the villagers of Kokoja village before, he was much more cruel than this. It's a good death. At the door of Zhang's house, except for Kingsu and Yui, everyone else was also not calm. Nami and Nakiko even cheered. And under Chen Tian's powerful kick, Along's head turned into powder in an instant, and his body flew out heavily. He flew hundreds of meters, and slammed into the ground with a rumble, turning into a headless dead fish. Bury him and plant an orange tree on it. It will definitely grow very lush. Chen Tian said to Jian. If you dare to hurt the people around you, you will not be able to rest in peace even after death. Become the nutrients of the orange tree. After seeing Jian nod, Chen Tian ignored him, and lowered his head to ask Robin, did you see that all the people who hurt you are dead? I saw it. Robin's eyes were red, and she hugged Chen Tian tightly, choking and saying, thank you, brother Chen Tian. Silly girl. He carried Robin back to Jian's house, and gently put her on the bed. Chen Tian sat next to her to accompany her. He originally wanted to kill Along and leave, but there was no ship doctor on the ship and Robin's safety could not be guaranteed. So they could only stay here and wait for Robin to fully recover before they set off. Originally, his injuries had recovered a month ago, and he planned to re-enter the Grand Line to collect devil fruits. But because Kingsu and others had not returned yet, it took a month. Who knew that this would happen? He did not plan to go back to Shimashiki village. After Robin recovered, he would help Long to see his son Luffy, which was considered to have fulfilled his request. After that, Chen Tian could return to the Grand Line to complete his own affairs. After Chen Tian killed Along, the villagers of Kokoya village suddenly became excited and spontaneously plundered Along's treasures and sent them all to Ajian's house. Then everyone started a banquet, singing and dancing to express their feelings. After Chen Tian took some food, he went back to take care of Robin, and did not join them. Instead, Kingsu and Yui came up, one telling a story and the other showing off her cooking skills. During this period, Nami and Nakiko looked at each other, and the two quietly came to Kingsu, and asked about Chen Tian. Chen Tian is the most powerful person they have ever met in their lives. He saved the village in times of crisis. The two of them already regarded him as a hero. Belemuya naturally saw the actions of the two daughters and sat there smoking thoughtfully. "What are you thinking about?" Aegean sat next to Belemuya with a glass of wine and handed her a glass. Taking the wine and taking a big sip, Belemuya said, "Nami likes sailing and wants to draw a sea map of the world. Although Nakigo didn't say it, I can see that she also wants to go out and see." He took another sip of wine and continued, "Even in Kokoa West Village, it is not absolutely safe, so I want the two of them to follow Chenshin." Aegean pondered for a while before saying, "Judging from Chenshin's performance today, he is not a bad person, and he is very good to the people around him." Thinking of the other party's expression when he first met Chenshin, Aegean deliberately emphasized the word very good. After a pause, he said hesitantly, "The most important thing is that he is a strong man. There is no safe place in this world. Only by following the strong can you be safe. I will think about it seriously, and I will also see what Nami and Nakiko think." Belemuya hesitated. She understood the truth. Even if she became a pirate, wouldn't it be the best if the two children could live safely and happily? But she couldn't bear to leave Nami and Nakiko, and the two children were still young, so she was very hesitant. Then, Belemuya looked at Nami and Nakiko in a daze, and Ken sighed, and got up and left. Belemuya didn't need anyone to accompany her now. What she needed was to think alone. Chapter 164, Pack Up and Leave as a Family. After settling down temporarily in Kokoa West Village, Chenshin and Robin lived in Aegean's house, while Kingsu, Yui and others lived on the boat. Aegean squeezed into the villager's house for 2 months and gave up his house. As time passed, Robin's injuries gradually healed and she was able to walk. Chenshin also had 2 more little followers, Nami and Nakiko, who came to visit every day. The two of them now have a very close relationship with Kingsu, Yui and others, and even visited the homecoming. From then on, Nami went to the homecoming every day, and Nakiko came to see Robin every day. With these 2 little guys around, Robin was in a good mood and her recovery speed was accelerated. In the blink of an eye, 2 months have passed, and today is the day for Robin to remove the bandage. "Brother Chenshin, come and help me remove it, I'm a little scared." Holding Chenshin's arm, Robin didn't dare to look down at her wound. Which girl doesn't love beauty? Although the doctor promised in every way that he used his family's exclusive secret medicine and would never leave scars, Robin was still afraid. After rubbing her hair with amusement, Chenshin squatted down and helped her remove the gauze bit by bit. 1 circle, 2 circles, 3 circles. After knowing that all the gauze was removed, Robin's flawless abdomen appeared in front of Chenshin. After a careful look, the doctor was right. There was no scar left. Patting Robin's belly, Chenshin said with a smile, "Don't worry, there is no scar at all." Robin opened her eyes, looked down, and jumped up in surprise, hugging Chenshin tightly. Seeing that Robin had fully recovered, Chenshin was in a good mood. He immediately took out a lot of supplies from the ship and invited the villagers to hold a banquet together. He still remembered how the villagers came to help Robin and others without fear of life and death. Although it was because Robin and others saved them first, Chenshin still remembered their kindness. So it was right to invite them to the banquet. Robin and Kingsu Yui were also very happy and hurriedly notified the villagers of Kokoja village. After everyone arrived, Yui flew with a kitchen knife in both hands and began to prepare food. Chen Tian took out the baileys that belonged to Aolong and said, "These treasures belong to the fishmen. Now they belong to you." No, these are your spoils. Yes, benefactor, you have helped us get rid of the fishmen. We can't take your money. If it weren't for you, benefactor, we would still be oppressed by the fishmen and pay them money. We can't take this money. The piles of baileys looked like they were worth about 100 million. The villagers were naturally jealous, but they knew that these should belong to Chen Tian, and everyone refused. It was Chen Tian who saved them and helped them kill the fishmen. They really didn't have the face to take Chen Tian's money. Fellow villagers, you have seen my strength. I'm not short of money at all. I'll leave these to you. We will leave Kikoyaxi village tomorrow. Looking at the performance of the villagers, Chen Tian's smile became more sincere, and he asked Kingsu and Robin to start distributing money on the spot. Along didn't have time to exploit them, so he just divided them equally. It is not the lack of money that is worrying, but the inequality. This method is obviously the best, and no one will have any objection. In fact, Chen Tian is really short of money. 300 devil fruits, how much money would it cost? But the performance of these villagers is worth the money, so Chen Tian will not hesitate to share it with them. If no one came out to help Robin and others that day, they would not be able to get any bailey from this money. After the money was divided, the banquet officially began. The villagers moved out boxes of wine and the atmosphere became lively. Even Robin, who had just recovered, drank a few more glasses because of his good mood. But some people are happy and some are sad. Belmia, who is not far from Chen Tian, is worried at this time. He wants Nami and Nakigo to follow Chen Tian so that they can fulfill their dreams and get Chen Tian's protection. In the past 2 months, she has also asked indirectly. The two little guys like Chen Tian very much and want to go to sea with them. Belmia also knows that such an answer is due to her own problem. The two girls will definitely live with her. But knowing that Chen Tian will leave tomorrow, Belmia doesn't know what to do. After hesitating for a while, she took 2 glasses of wine and sat next to Chen Tian. After handing him 1 glass, she said, "Chen Tian, I want to let Nakiko and Nami follow you." Puff. Cough cough cough. The wine that had just entered his mouth sprayed out instantly. Chen Tian coughed and asked, "Why do you have such an idea?" Belmia drank the wine in distress and explained decadently, "You are strong and can protect them both well, and their dreams can only be fulfilled by going to sea." Chen Tian naturally knew that Nami's dream was to draw a nautical chart of the world. Although the original book did not talk about Nakiko's dream, Robin secretly told him that she wanted to travel around the world. In the future, Nami did fulfill her dream, but Nakiko did not, and she has been living in Kokoja village. Then what will you do? Are you willing to give up the two of them? Chen Tian asked very seriously. He always felt that this world was very strange. Whether it was family, friends, or others, as long as they were going to sea, they could be abandoned. Just like Nami in the future, didn't she also abandon Nakiko and go to sea with Luffy? It was as if the sea had a magical power that could attract countless people to abandon their families and children and continue to fight. Hearing what Chen Tian said, Belmia was stunned for a moment and then replied, "Of course I don't want to, but that is their dream." "Okay, I promise you, go tell Nami and Nakiko." He nodded and agreed, but Chen Tian didn't think so in his heart. Seeing Belmia leaving in a daze, he secretly found the security officer Aegean and told him about it. Chen Tian really admired Belmia's family. Everyone had their own shining side. Since Belmia wanted Nami and Nakiko to fulfill their dreams, and she herself was reluctant to let them go, why not go together? Aegean hesitated, but seeing Belmia's dejected look, he gritted his teeth and agreed, and said to Chen Tian, "If you can't take good care of them, I will definitely fight you, even if you are much stronger than me." He liked Belmia and regarded Nakiko and Nami as his own daughters, but now they were all caught by Chen Tian. Chen Tian knew his distress, patted his shoulder, and promised to take good care of the 3 of them. After Belmia said Nami and Nakiko, he drank alone. Aegean came to her side, said nothing, and kept drinking with her until Belmia was unconscious. Then Chen Tian asked Kingsu and Robin to move her to the homecoming and let her drink slowly. Nami and Nakiko went home to pack up and take all the things they were going to take. Before leaving, Nami found Chen Tian and asked, "Brother Chen Tian, can you help me move an orange tree? I want to plant it on the homecoming. I saw a garden on it." "Okay." Rubbing her little head, Chen Tian found an orange tree at random, pulled it out directly, carried it to the ship and planted it. The group took advantage of the night to leave Kokoja village, and no one except Aegean noticed. Watching the homecoming go away, Aegean slowly came to Belmia's house and gently stroked the wall. After 2 full hours, he walked out the door, looked back with nostalgia, and closed the door forever. Chapter 165 Arrival at Windmill Village. The next morning, after Chen Tian and the others got up, the homecoming was already on the way to the Windmill Village. Please, Long bought so many devil fruits, he must repay them and teach his son a few tricks. In this way, he can continue to trade in the future. He doesn't like to owe favors. When Chen Tian and the others were having breakfast, Bulimia stumbled out. When she saw Chen Tian and the others and Namikaze, she suddenly widened her eyes and looked at them in disbelief. Why am I here? She was really confused. Didn't she just drink some wine? Why did she go out to sea after getting up? Since you want Namikaze to realize her dream and you can't bear to leave them, then go together. Anyway, you don't need a place on my ship. Chen Tian said it easily, but Bulimia was dumbfounded on the spot. I didn't say I was going to sea. But she didn't say anything, angrily pushed Chen Tian away, and ate breakfast by herself. They were already on the ship, what else could she say? And she actually couldn't bear to leave Nami and Nakiko. Besides, she didn't have any relatives in Coco West Village, so she didn't have anything to be reluctant about, so she might as well let it go. By the way, I used to be an AV. You're not a pirate, are you? Bulimia turned her head and looked at Chen Tian warily. No. Chen Tian shook his head, but before Bulimia could breathe a sigh of relief, he continued, I'm just a criminal with a bounty of nearly 1 billion. Shocked, Bulimia was really shocked this time. She stood up instantly, and the meat in her mouth fell to the ground. A bounty of 1 billion baileys, what is this concept? Bulimia racked her brains, but couldn't figure it out. But then she regained her composure and sat down to continue eating. It's okay if she's not a pirate, and the bounty doesn't matter. Anyway, she believes what she saw with her own eyes. Besides, even if there is a bounty, what's the problem? She is no longer a navy, she is just a mother who grows oranges to feed her daughter. After seeing Bulimia figured it out, Chen Tian expressed that he was very relieved that someone had planted the trees on the ship. After breakfast, everyone was basking in the sun with nothing to do. Bulimia asked Robin and others about Chen Tian. When she learned that Robin and Chen Tian's hometown O'Hara was destroyed by the navy and a bounty was offered for them, she crushed the cigarette in her hand in anger. When she knew that Yui was struggling to find her parents, she touched her hair with heartache. When she knew that Chen Tian had avenged King Su, she turned her head and looked at Chen Tian deeply, revealing a beautiful smile. Knowing that they had rescued ***, but the navy offered an additional bounty, she became angry again. After that, she heard about Hancock and Daishin Dojo from several people. Knowing the ups and downs of Chen Tian's journey, even she felt her heart surge. The two little kids who were listening to the story looked at Chen Tian with stars in their eyes and admired him so much. When the three of them learned about Chen Tian's past, the homecoming had already arrived at Windmill Village. We're here, let's get off the ship together. King Su shouted immediately after parking the homecoming. Don't you need someone to stay and watch the ship? Bulimia asked curiously. How come this is different from what she knew? Chen Tian smiled mysteriously and said, don't worry, the homecoming is special. Ordinary people have no ability to drive it away. When the old boatman built the ship, he had already considered this problem. Even Chen Tian had to say that when a person spends his whole life doing one thing, that person's achievement is definitely extraordinary. The homecoming is such a masterpiece, absolutely beyond the imagination of ordinary people. However, after arriving at the Seven Water City, Chen Tian still wanted to find Master Tom to help him improve it. Creaky. The door of a bar was pushed open from the outside, and then Chen Tian and his group walked in, talking and laughing. Miss Minoki, give us 5 glasses of rum and 2 glasses of juice. Chen Tian opened the gravity space, took out a few thousand baileys from it, and said with a smile at the bar, welcome, are you from outside? I haven't seen you in Windmill Village. At this time, a woman with dark green hair came out from the wine cabinet. She looked at Chen Tian and asked with a smile, yes, we came to Windmill Village to find a little brat named Luffy. Chen Tian smiled. Excuse me, what do you want to do with Luffy? Manachi rolled his eyes and handed the rum and juice to Chen Tian and others. After taking a sip, Chen Tian smiled and said, I don't want to come to find that brat, but his father asked me to come, and I have no choice. It would be troublesome if I ran into Vice Admiral Garp. Gurgle. After saying that, Chen Tian took another big sip without any hesitation. Manachi breathed a sigh of relief quietly and smiled gently. Luffy will come to me often. Do you want to wait here? Since Chen Tian knew the relationship between Vice Admiral Garp and Luffy, he must know Luffy's father. Otherwise, this kind of secret information is not something that ordinary people can get. Don't you see that the Straw Hat Pirates and the Navy only knew this news after Luffy became famous? Even Shanks, who fooled Luffy, didn't know the relationship between Vice Admiral Garp and Luffy at first. Chen Tian shook his head and rejected Manich's proposal. Instead, he said, I know where Luffy lives. I will find him myself, but we will come here often for a drink. In the Windmill Village, they all had different places to live, so they could only stay temporarily on the homecoming. It is also a good choice to come to Manich's place for a few drinks from time to time. After drinking the rum in his hand and putting down the glass, Chen Tian said to the women around him, you just wait here for me, I will bring that kid over. Finally, Chen Tian went in the direction of Daden's family, and he could sense them in his observation haki. Soon, he came to the door of Daden's family. Looking at this bandit's nest, Chen Tian's mouth twitched a little. Garp has been catching pirates all his life. Why did he let the bandits raise his grandson? What is the difference between bandits and pirates? Is it because he is a navy that he can't control the bandits? But Chen Tian had to admit that this family of bandits was pretty good, and he had never seen them harm anyone. Who are you, and what are you doing here? At this moment, Daden pushed open the door and came out with a large pot of meat. After seeing Chen Tian, he took a step back, looked at him fiercely, and asked, it doesn't matter who I am. I came here to take Luffy with me for a while. Impossible. I can't let Luffy go with a stranger like you. If you don't leave, I will kill you. Daden's face became more ferocious, and he looked at Chen Tian vigilantly. Shaking his head helplessly, Chen Tian explained, Luffy's father asked me to come. I also know that Luffy's grandfather is Vice Admiral Garp, and Manichi at the bar down the mountain also knows me. After hearing this series of explanations, Daden relaxed and said proudly, then take that little bastard away quickly. I'm annoyed when I see him. Then, regardless of what Chen Tian did, he turned back to the house and prepared food for lunch. Chen Tian shook his head with a smile. Now he said he was annoyed when he saw Luffy. Why was he so vigilant before? But he didn't expose Daden and turned into the mountain to look for Luffy. According to the perception of observation haki, Luffy is now with two other people, who should be Ace and Sabo. However, Chen Tian didn't have any idea about these two people, and he was too lazy to pay attention to them. Soon, he came to where Luffy was, and saw three little guys killing crocodiles. Ace Sabo, we have been eating crocodiles for many days, can't we change to another kind of food? Luffy looked at the ingredients in front of him, and yelled with some dissatisfaction. Ace had several hash signs on his head and roared, you didn't do anything, and you dare to be picky. Chen Tian ignored their conversation, and walked out and said, Luffy, your father asked me to teach you. I have told Daden. Now come with me. Ace and Sabo became alert at the first time. Only Luffy said stupidly, I don't know you, and I don't know who my father is, so I won't go with you. Chapter 166 Teaching the Three Brothers. I don't know you, and I don't know who my father is, so I won't go with you. Hearing Luffy's words, Chen Tian's mouth twitched. Good guy, you don't know who your father is, and you can still say it so proudly? But think about it, Long has indeed never appeared in front of Luffy, so it's normal for him not to know. But Chen Tian doesn't want to waste his saliva with this guy anymore. Billions of people on the earth know that he has a bad brain. That's not up to you. Chen Tian appeared in front of Luffy in an instant, with his armed color domineering wrapped around his right hand, and fell on Luffy's head. Under this punch, Luffy's eyes suddenly became bright, and his eyes darkened and he fainted. Ace and Sabo, who were standing by, saw this scene. Their pupils suddenly shrank, and they looked at him in horror. What kind of monster is this? I didn't even see his movements. These words appeared in their hearts at the same time. When they reacted, Chen Tian had already dragged Luffy away from the spot and went down the mountain. Stop right there. Where are you taking Luffy? Ace and Sabo were so anxious that they didn't even care about the crocodile under their feet and chased him frantically. But their speed difference was too big, and soon they couldn't see Chen Tian's figure. Sabo, we lost him. What should we do? Ace was a little panicked. His brother was kidnapped like this. Sabo adjusted his hat and said, don't worry, don't worry. He said he was a friend of Luffy's father and told Daden, let's go ask her. After making up their minds, the two rushed towards Daden's family, not daring to waste any time. After seeing Daden, they learned that Chenshin took Luffy to Manachi and turned and ran over. While they were on their way, Chenshin had already arrived at Manachi's tavern, drinking rum comfortably. After a while, Luffy woke up slowly, and when he opened his eyes, he saw Chenshin's face. Hiss. Why does it hurt as much when you hit someone as when your grandfather does? In an instant, Luffy hugged his forehead, which had been swollen, and kept crying in pain. This time, it was not just Chenshin who was in trouble. Robin, Kinksu, Nami and others beside him looked at Luffy in silence. Some of them couldn't help laughing. After Chenshin came back, Manachi looked at the fainted Luffy anxiously, so he explained what happened before. But now that Luffy woke up, he was not alert at all, but was concerned about the pain of Chenshin hitting people. Is your focus different from that of normal people? But this time, with Manachi, with her help, Luffy reluctantly agreed to accept Chenshin's teachings. Of course, the premise is that Chenshin wants to treat him to a big meal now, because he is hungry. While Luffy was wolfing down, the door of the bar was pushed open with a bang, and two sweaty teenagers came in. Wow, you are quite fast. Looking at the figures of Ace and Sabo, Chenshin praised from the bottom of his heart. It is really worthy of being a future stir-upper. Even though he is very young, his speed is not bad. Where did you take Luffy? Ace was roaring at Chenshin, but he saw Luffy wolfing down his food, and he couldn't say anything. Ah, Ace and Sabo, you're here. With his mouth full of meat, Luffy greeted them vaguely, and then continued to fight the meat in front of him. Gurgle. Seeing Luffy eating so deliciously, Ace and Sabo's stomachs couldn't help but growl. They were already hungry, and then they ran for so long to find Luffy, and they were already starving. But what did they see now? Luffy was eating so deliciously here. Luffy. Ace's voice rose 12 notches, full of anger. Okay, sit down and eat together if you're hungry. Chenshin waved at the two of them with a smile, and said jokingly, I said I'm his father's friend, now you believe it, right? Ace and Sabo blushed a little, embarrassed to accept Chenshin's kindness. After all, they did misunderstand Chenshin. Fortunately, the neighbor's big sister Manachi was there, which made the two of them not so embarrassed. Soon, after the group had eaten and drunk enough, Chenshin took Luffy to exercise. Ace and Sabo on the side were a little envious and curious. They saw how powerful Chenshin was. They also wanted to be taught by such a strong man. However, the two did not envy Luffy. Instead, they urged him to learn from Chenshin. Seeing that the two of them were almost red in the eyes, Chenshin was a little funny. Anyway, teaching one is teaching two is also teaching, so let's do it together. With Chenshin's consent, the two cheered and followed up. Arriving at the beach next to the homecoming, Chenshin took a few lounge chairs, and except for Luffy and his three brothers, they all lay down to do their own things. I don't have anything else here, but physical skills are still no problem, but your physical strength is a little lacking, so exercise first. After lying down, Chenshin said leisurely, yes. Luffy, Ace and Sabo, the three brothers, were full of momentum, and shouted with the volume of 30 people. Chenshin smiled strangely. Very good, I just like you guys being so energetic. Let's run around the beach 50 times next. Ace and Luffy were about to say that this was too easy, but before they could open their mouths, their bodies instantly became twice as heavy, and they had difficulty breathing. It turned out that after Chenshin arranged the tasks, he covered the beach with gravity space. It is worth mentioning that the gravity space can be taken into the body or covered on a piece of space. However, after it is covered, Chenshin can only control the gravity of that piece, and it has no other effects. This is why he came to the homecoming specifically, because the things in the gravity space are easy to transfer. Luffy was full of confusion and wanted to ask what was going on, but Ace and Sabo looked at each other, nodded at the same time, and pulled him to run. In this state, 50 laps might cost them their lives. Wouldn't it be courting death if they continued to talk? Seeing the three of them so self-conscious, Chenshin nodded with satisfaction, turned around and asked Robin, Nami and others, do you want to train together? In fact, the strength of these women is not very good. The strongest Robin is about the same as the pirate with a bounty of 20 million. The remaining Kingsu and Yui are about 10 million. The remaining Belemuya is just a navy soldier. Naminoki is taller, but not as powerful as a pet. Hearing this, Robin, Kingsu and Yui shook their heads at the same time and rejected Chen Tian's proposal. They had trained a lot before, but later they couldn't bear it, so they are now. And their reasons left Chen Tian speechless. Robin said that she is a historian and strength is not important. Kingsu is a navigator, and the reason is the same as Robin. Yui is a chef, and doesn't care about strength. Don't underestimate a little gravity. After all, not everyone is a pervert like Sun Wukong in Dragon Ball. When the gravity attached to you doubles, you will find that you are almost unable to breathe. The pressure squeezes your internal organs, and the lungs can't withstand the pressure, so you naturally can't breathe. It's almost the same as the feeling of entering water, but dozens of times stronger than that. But what surprised Chen Tian was that Belma actually brought Nami and Nakiko into the range of gravity space. Seeing Chen Tian's gaze, Belma smiled and said, "The three of us are too weak. We must have the strength to protect ourselves, otherwise we will hold you back." In her heart, she positioned herself as a fighter. Wouldn't it be shameful to have no strength? Chapter 167, The Time Traveler Sig. Time flies, and a month has passed in the blink of an eye. Everyone has a new look. They are still near the homecoming, but there are more than just the few people in the gravity space. Even Robin and others have begun to train hard. They were still basking in the sun leisurely, but after seeing Belmia working hard, they may have been stimulated, so they all joined in. After this month, the gravity space has been upgraded to twice, but everyone can adapt, including the two little guys Nami and Nakiko. In terms of strength, even Nami and Nakiko can easily kill several pirates with a bounty of 1 million baileys. Belmia works harder than anyone else, and his strength grows the fastest. It is estimated that he can fight against Arlan alone. Robin and Kingsu Yui, who have a strength of about 40 to 50 million, have doubled. Of course, the most important thing is naturally the three Luffy brothers. Chen Tian can only say that they are worthy of being the protagonists, and their strength is growing really fast. If it weren't for the system, Chen Tian would envy and be jealous of the three of them. Now these three guys have reached the strength of Luffy when he went to sea, but it's a full 10 years ahead of time. Okay, your physical fitness is almost up to standard. Next, I will teach you the 6 styles of the Navy. Chen Tian clapped his hands, attracting everyone's attention. Why the 6 styles of the Navy? I want to become the Pirate King. Ace was the first to shout. On the contrary, the calm Sabo and Luffy, who had no goal yet, did not speak. Everyone on the homecoming was very calm. They had known that Chen Tian knew these things for a long time. Among the 3 people who had not seen it, Nami and Nakiko did not understand what it was. Only Belmare's eyes were shining. She had been a Navy for several years, and the 6 styles of the Navy were all legendary things. She didn't expect that she could learn them now. I still remember that her boss said to her, "Belmare, we people in the base can only work hard to become stronger. Those who come from the headquarters can learn the 6 styles of the Navy as long as they meet the standards, but we don't have this opportunity." When the boss spoke, his tone was full of envy, which left a deep impression on Belmare. Don't think that the 6 styles of the Navy seem to be everywhere. You can learn them as long as you enter the Naval Academy. But you have to know that the Naval Academy trains future officers at the level of officers and officers. From the moment they enter the academy, they are destined to become an official, skipping the grassroots level. Look at the people who come out of it, the 3 admirals of the Navy, Smoker, Tina, etc. Ordinary Navy officers have no chance to enter the Naval Academy, let alone soldiers from other bases. This shows how precious the 6 styles of the Navy are to ordinary Navy soldiers. No wonder Belemuya is excited. The 6 styles of the Navy are divided into shaving, moon steps, paper painting, iron blocks, gun pointing, and storm kicks. Chen Tian explained, while demonstrating in person. Belemuya and others stared with their eyes wide open. This is too powerful. Then one by one, they became more focused, fearing that they would miss a little bit and affect their studies. Chen Tian saw all of this, and nodded secretly in his heart. Belemuya's arrival inspired the other women's competitive spirit, and they all worked hard. This is a good phenomenon. Thinking about the future, these women can catch the big pirates and beat them up. Chen Tian has some expectations. Later, he did not cancel the gravity space, but let everyone continue to practice in it and strengthen their physical fitness. When Chen Tian was teaching everyone, the bandit King Sig, who lived not far from the windmill village, suddenly fainted. But in just 2 minutes, he opened his eyes again, and his eyes were full of confusion. After holding his head and wailing for a long time, he suddenly laughed, like a madman. He kept saying, "Crossing. I didn't expect that I could also cross and have a system." The bandits under him felt puzzled when they heard his words, but they dared not say anything. After a long time, he calmed down, sent all the younger brothers out, and sat in a daze. It seems that he is in a daze, but he is actually understanding his system and looking for ways to become stronger. Before crossing, he was a big boss in the dark world. Now that he has come to this world, he also wants to become the Supreme King. It happened that he had watched all the animations of One Piece in order to accompany his son, and he still remembers a lot now. The system of pretending to be awesome and slapping others in the face, you can get rewards. The stronger the person who is slapped in the face, the better the reward. Looking at the introduction of the system, Sig unconsciously rubbed his fingers. This is his habit of thinking. If I remember correctly, red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 emperors, is coming, and according to the plot, I can give him a bottle of wine and kidnap the protagonist. Thinking about it, Sig became a little excited. Kidnapping the protagonist is too dangerous, so it's better to give up. But I still have to give Shanks a bottle of wine. Anyway, he won't fight back. In this way, I think the reward must be amazing. Sig's face was full of greed. He is one of the 4 emperors, almost reaching the ceiling of this world. If I really give him a bottle, the reward will probably allow me to directly obtain the combat power of the general level, right? At that time, I can enter the new world, slap all the 4 emperors in the face, and gain powerful strength in one fell swoop. Finally, overthrow the celestial dragons, become the god of this world, and let everyone crawl at my feet. Thinking of the happy things, Sig's smile couldn't stop blooming, and his heart was full of motivation. With the system, he is destined to become the supreme ruler of this time. However, he was a big boss in his previous life, so he quickly calmed down. Although Shanks did not fight back in the original work, it is not necessarily the case now, so he must have a certain strength. In this case, let's start with these subordinates of mine, which can be regarded as waste utilization. These weak subordinates can only be used now, and they will be useless when they leave Windmill Village. He does not plan to go out to sea with these weak chickens, so it is better to find some strong people to serve as his subordinates. Let's not talk about Sig using his subordinates to brush rewards here. At the moment, when Sig woke up, Chen Tian received a prompt from the system. Host, I just felt that there were similar people appearing on this island, but now the gap is not big. Similar people? Do you mean the system? The traveler? Chen Tian was shocked. He actually met a fellow countryman here? I don't know if it is a traveler, but it is indeed a system. And it is more advanced than me. The tone of the system was a little unhappy, but who made him a disabled product? But what it really wants to say is not this, but host, find a way to find that person. I can devour his system and make myself stronger. This is its real purpose. It is just a disabled product. Even the shuttle world is brought to it by Chen Tian by chance. Not to mention this, there is a limit to the card drop alone. When the enemy is strong to a certain extent, it can no longer generate cards. Before, I wanted Chen Tian to continue to become stronger, so that I can also become stronger. The two complement each other. But now a new system has appeared. As long as it is devoured, the system can completely occupy its template and go to a higher level. Since I'm a disabled product, I will take over a non-disabled body. This is the idea of the system now. Chen Tian hesitated for a while and nodded, saying, I will try my best to find it, but I'm not sure if I can find it. Since the Naruto world, he has become stronger and mastered his own destiny by relying on the system. Now Chen Tian cannot refuse the things that the system asks him to do. What's more, this is also a good thing for him. He is also one of the beneficiaries. Just look at the previous card drop rate of the system. Major generals almost always drop cards, but when it comes to vice generals, it suddenly becomes 1/10 to 1/20th. Obviously, it is almost useless. If it reaches the level of the 4 emperors, it is a question whether it can drop a card, even if he kills all over the world. Who made the system a broken product to begin with, and in order to help itself freeze the Naruto world, it consumed only 1/10 of its energy. It suddenly went from a broken product to garbage. Chapter 168 6 Bold Action. Although Chen Tian would not dislike his system, why not do it if he can make it more powerful? Therefore, Chen Tian also kept this matter in mind and observed it in the windmill village. Because the system had said before that it sensed that the system was on this island. Unfortunately, after searching for a whole month, Chen Tian still did not find anything special. Instead, Robin and others became much stronger. On this day, Chen Tian saw that everyone had worked hard for 2 months and had made great progress in strength, so he took a day off and took them to Monoki Bar for a big meal. On the coast of Windmill Village, a huge ship sailed in, which was almost 10 times the size of the Homecoming. Looking at the pirate flag hanging on it, it was the 4 Emperors Pirates, the Red Hair Pirates, who were well known to everyone in the New World. Captain, does this ship look familiar? Ben Beckman looked at the Homecoming next to him and asked Shanks. Shanks nodded and said, I feel familiar with it, but I can't remember where I've seen it before. Oh, this kind of thing is irrelevant. Let's go buy some wine first. Kiraru pulled them off indifferently. Shanks and Beckman didn't think about the Homecoming. They were pirates. They saw countless ships every day, so it was normal to be familiar with them. So, the group walked towards the Monoki Bar and planned to buy some drinks here. They had held too many banquets during the voyage, so the drinks were all consumed. While they were looking for the bar, Sig on the mountain had received the news of their arrival. Boss, there is a huge pirate ship coming, and there is indeed a red-haired one. It should be the red hair pirates you created. A little brother ran back and hurriedly reported the situation to Sig. As early as a month ago, in order not to miss the big fish Shanks, Sig sent people to watch the port every day, for fear of missing this opportunity. Hard work pays off. He finally waited for Shanks. Today is the day for his soaring. Feeling the huge power in his body, Sig was still very confident. He had driven these men crazy to gain his current strength. Let's go meet those pirates and let them know how powerful the King of Bandits is. Sig waved his hand and rushed to Monoki Bar with his men. He was not afraid that these younger brothers would retreat after knowing Shanks' name. Even the original owner didn't know Shanks, let alone them. These younger brothers were full of energy. Finally, they didn't have to be tortured by the boss anymore. That's great. In Monoki Bar, the members of the Red Hair Pirates finally found this place. As soon as he opened the door, he saw Chen Tian at first sight, and Shanks was stunned. He was very familiar with this person. When they entered the Grand Line 10 years ago, the two sides fought each other. Later, he read in the newspaper that this guy had a higher bounty than himself at that time, but there was no news about him later. Thinking of this, Shanks released his observation haki and probed Chen Tian. This person's strength was not weak at the beginning, and I don't know how he is now. Chen Tian instantly sensed Shanks' movements, frowned and looked over coldly, and at the same time surrounded himself and others with his observation haki, blocking Shanks' investigation. The observation haki of both sides retreated immediately, and Shanks looked at Chen Tian in shock. The opponent's strength has definitely become much stronger. Even if he attacks with all his strength, it is estimated that it will be difficult to defeat the opponent in a short time. It seems that not only he is getting stronger, but others are not lagging behind at all. Do you want to fight again? Chen Tian asked unhappily. He didn't dislike Shanks, but he really didn't have much good impression of him. He fought with him because of a misunderstanding, and now he is investigating him unscrupulously. Does he really think he is made of mud? Seeing that Chen Tian was a little angry, Shanks smiled and said, No, it's been a long time since we last met, and I'm curious for a while. If they really fought, he would definitely win, but Shanks didn't want to fight with Chen Tian, and it was indeed wrong for him to do this. He was too curious at the time. Seeing Shanks' apologetic smile, Chen Tian was too lazy to pay attention to him, and ate his food. He was not a fool without a brain. He knew that he would not get any good results if he took action now, so he might as well give up. The main reason was that Robin and others were still there, and Chen Tian was not sure he could protect them. It was him. I still remember him. Back then on the food island. Kiraru and others who had seen Chen Tian remembered him and boasted to the people around them. Those who boarded the ship later knew about Chen Tian's reputation and looked at him curiously. However, Chen Tian was too lazy to pay attention to them and even didn't bother to answer Shank's words. The other party smiled and said nothing and asked for a lot of wine and drank it. Bang! At this moment, the door of the bar was kicked open by someone and a dozen good bandits walked in swaggeringly. Take out all the wine. I'm responsible for killing you. These people looked at Minoki arrogantly with a threatening tone. Minoki frowned and said, there is no more wine here. All of it has been sold. She was really not afraid of these bandits. Chen Tian was still sitting here. What waves could the other party make? In the past 2 months, who in the whole windmill village didn't know that Chen Tian was a rare strong man? And she didn't lie. The wine was indeed sold out. All of it was bought by Shanks. But these bandits were unhappy and immediately prepared to start making trouble, and they also aimed their spearheads at Shanks. Chen Tian on the other side was like an invisible man. His eyes kept wandering around the leading bandit. When he entered the door, the system prompted that this person was a time traveler, and the system was on him. So, Chen Tian now just wanted to see what this time traveler was going to do, and he dared to make trouble in front of Shanks. As he watched, Chen Tian was stunned. You are a time traveler. Even if you haven't watched One Piece, you should know the identity of Shanks, right? He actually came up with a bottle? But the people of the red hair pirates were all laughing, and they had no intention of taking action at all. After hitting Shanks, Sig couldn't hold back his expression and smiled happily. The system has distributed the reward this time, and he just needs to find a place where no one is around to merge. Just when he was about to leave, he saw Chen Tian and others, or more precisely, Robin. In an instant, Sig's eyes were fixed on Robin, and he couldn't move away at all. He quickly stepped forward and came to Robin and said arrogantly, Nico Robin, the son of the devil, has a bounty of 79 million baileys. I don't need to say more, right? Come with me now, you can still survive. Then, he seemed to suddenly think of something, turned to Minoki and said, you come with me too. This is the first step for him to open the Crystal Palace, and all these beauties must be collected. Hearing his words, Chen Tian's face suddenly turned cold, and he asked word by word, what did you just say? Say it again. Sig looked Chen Tian up and down, and confirmed that there was no strong man in the original book who looked like Chen Tian, and he was immediately unhappy. You scum, who is not even a supporting role, dare to talk to me like this? With his finger constantly tapping Chen Tian's forehead, Zyge said jokingly, I'm going to take this woman next to you back home, and let her accompany me for fun. Ah. Before he finished speaking, Zyge let out a shrill scream that could be heard throughout the windmill village. It turned out that when he tapped Chen Tian's forehead, Chen Tian suddenly grabbed his right hand and squeezed it hard, turning it into a meat paste. Chapter 169 Devouring System. I was a little hesitant when I thought you were my fellow countrymen, but now you are courting death. Chen Tian's cold voice came out, and Zyge was stunned for a moment. Then he was about to say something, but Chen Tian's big hand had already pressed his face, making him unable to say a word. System, how are you going to devour the system in the other person's body? Chen Tian asked secretly in his heart. Although he looks so relaxed now, this guy's strength is indeed not low, almost at the level of a lieutenant general. Immediately, the voice of the system came into Chen Tian's mind. Host, I'm not the opponent of the other party. If you kill this person, the other party will become weak, and I can take advantage of the opportunity to enter. This was exactly what Chen Tian wanted, and he didn't wait any longer, grabbing Zyge's head and smashing it hard on the ground. Boom. The ground shook, and a pit more than 1 meter in size opened on the ground. Zyge was dead and couldn't die anymore. Although he didn't sense anything unusual, Chen Tian knew that the system had begun to act. Zyge's men were so scared that they wet their pants. They were just scum who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Now that no one has killed their boss, they are scared to death. They want to use the system to leave here as quickly as possible, but Chen Tian has been watching them and dare not move for fear of being crushed to death. Host, I have captured it and will start the fusion now. The joyful voice of the system made Chen Tian feel relieved. The other party is much more advanced than his own system. If he can't handle it, it will be terrible. You guys, take the body on the ground away. Chen Tian said coldly, pointing at Sig's body. Yes, yes. What are you standing there for? Come and help. We'll go now. We'll go now. There is strength in numbers. Sig was dug out in just 2 minutes. They were afraid that Chen Tian would be angry, so they dug away the bloody land. After dealing with Sig's matter, Chen Tian couldn't wait to see how the system was. So he said hello to Monoki and left with Robin and others. Shanks, who was standing aside, looked at Chen Tian with a cautious look, but also a bit of fighting spirit. Although Chen Tian's attack just now was simple, he saw a little bit of the trick and wanted to test Chen Tian's strength. But when he thought of Chen Tian's attitude towards them, he forced himself to suppress his thoughts. He was sure that if he attacked Chen Tian again, the two sides would fight to the death, and there was no need to provoke such a big enemy for himself. Then he saw Luffy and Ace and started to play with them. Chen Tian, who returned to the homecoming, let the others move freely and went into the room and closed the door. System, how are you? Sitting on the bed, he asked secretly in his heart. The system's voice was very cheerful and said cheerfully, it's better to come early than to come in time. This system has been completed. Chen Tian's face was happy and he hurriedly urged, then you quickly introduce it. What functions are there now? The system started by swallowing and told everything. It turned out that when swallowing the pretending to be awesome and slapping the face system, it was found that it had lottery functions, system mouse, system rewards and other capabilities. The system did not stop and absorbed all those messy functions as energy. Only the lottery function and the system mall were left to merge with himself and become a part of himself. After the fusion, his own dropped cards were mainly used, supplemented by the lottery function in the system mall, which greatly strengthened his role. In the future, when Chen Tian kills an enemy, there is a probability that a card will be exploded, and there is no upper limit. These cards are all unified content, all energy points, but there are more or less. And the energy points that burst out can be drawn in the system, to draw all the things in the heavens and the worlds. Even Panguax may be drawn out, which is awesome. Hahaha, I didn't expect it. This system has suddenly changed from a rag to a top system. The system's rampant laughter sounded in Chen Tian's mind. Chen Tian was also very happy. This time the system has really helped him a lot. The previous system could only make him the ceiling of the current world, and he had no ability to surpass it. Now it is completely different. What if he draws something in the advanced world? He will surpass the world in an instant. The most important thing is that he doesn't have to worry about killing all the strong people in the world and still not being able to make himself stronger. Tell me the requirements for the lottery quickly. Chen Tian suppressed his excitement and kept urging in his heart. The primary lottery requires 100 energy points, the intermediate lottery requires 1000 energy points, the advanced lottery requires 10,000 energy points, and the top lottery requires 1 million energy points. As for higher energy points, we will talk about it later. Anyway, you can't do it now. Hearing the system's answer, Chen Tian's head was full of black lines. Why can't I do it? I ignored this inflated idiot and opened the system panel to observe it myself. Host, Chen Tian, physique, early admiral of the navy, physical skills, 6 styles of the navy, perfect, swordsmanship, peak swordsman, 3-color haki, observation haki, intermediate, armament haki, intermediate, overlord haki, intermediate. Abilities, regeneration of broken limbs, gravity space, items, 1 fine long sword, 1 ship, homecoming, some food, Bailey 125,820,000 Baileys, energy points. 0 world shuttle. 10/300 In addition to the main panel, there is also a sub-panel, which contains the lottery panel. The sub-panel is a starry sky, with countless stars in the sky. The first time he looked at them, Chen Tian knew in his heart that these stars were the items for the lottery. As long as he accumulated enough energy points, these stars would drop immediately after choosing the lottery. Looking at the stars divided into 7 or 8 layers, it is obvious that there will be other draws above the top lottery system. If I use 100 energy points to draw, will only the bottom layer drop? Although it was a question, Chen Tian's tone was quite affirmative. The system finally suppressed its inflated heart and replied, yes, the first layer represents the primary lottery, the second is the intermediate lottery, the third layer is the advanced lottery, and so on. After hesitating for a while, the system reminded, but not every star has something, some are empty. Chen Tian. Sure enough, the lottery thing is not something that non-Africans can play, and there is not even a guarantee. At least you can come again. I'm somewhat comforted. Touching his face, he felt that he was still relatively white, and Chen Tian was relieved. However, this lottery mode is quite fresh. You can see the meteors again if you draw once, and you can also see the meteor shower if you draw more at a time. Not bad. After closing the system panel, Chen Tian was not in a hurry. He would leave Windmill Village after teaching Luffy and others for another month. There will definitely be a lot of energy points to come to him by then, so there is no need to rush at this moment. If it weren't for the rapid progress of Robin and others, Chen Tian only planned to teach for 2 months. Now for Robin and others, let's stay for another month. But he didn't expect that, because he left in a hurry before he forgot Luffy at the Manachi bar. Under the stimulation of Shanks and others, Luffy ate the rubber fruit and became a rubber man. If he knew, Chen Tian would be speechless. I have worked hard for so long, and you can still go back to the old way. It's really unique. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170. Garp is back. Brother Chen Tian, open the door quickly, it's Luffy. A night passed, and early the next morning, there was a violent knock on Chen Tian's door. I ate a fruit, and some places can actually become longer and shorter. Chen Tian was stunned. Luffy can drive? Why didn't I know he had such a talent? However, Chen Tian still walked to the door and opened it. But he saw Luffy, with his right arm stretched out, about to grab the top of the ship on the door. But when Chen Tian opened the door at this moment, his mind was suddenly not focused. The fist was like a jumping earthworm, falling loosely and hitting his own head. Ah, it doesn't hurt. Luffy immediately covered his forehead, but suddenly found that he couldn't feel any pain. Chen Tian. Looking at Luffy like this, it is obvious that he has eaten the rubber fruit. How could he feel pain when being hit by a fist? He can cover his fist with armed color domineering, but he can't do it. Although he was a little speechless, Chen Tian didn't say much. After all, he had eaten the devil fruit, so he couldn't let him spit it out. Moreover, he didn't have any opinion on Luffy eating the rubber fruit. But he still had to help Luffy get familiar with the power of the rubber fruit. What does it look like to be so soft? Then, Chen Tian started a new day of devil instructor life. The red hair pirates left the Windmill Village after staying in it for 8 days and said hello to Chen Tian before leaving. There was no drama of Sieg kidnapping Luffy, and Shanks didn't lose an arm, but he still gave the hat to Luffy. From this day on, Luffy's catchphrase became "I'm the man who wants to be the pirate king." Chen Tian didn't stop him. Anyway, whether it was the navy or the pirates, this world was a sick world. In the blink of an eye, 20 days had passed. While training Robin, Luffy and others, Chen Tian also went to kill several kings of the near sea. It's a pity that each card only exploded a little energy value at most. Now it's less than 5 points, and even the primary lottery can't afford it. There are still 10 days before we leave. The strength of these 3 guys is enough. Chen Tian was somewhat satisfied when he saw Ace, Luffy and Sabo. Although he didn't say it explicitly, these 3 brothers were half of his disciples. At this moment, King Su suddenly rushed in and said anxiously, Brother Chen Tian, a warship of the Navy headquarters has arrived." Having followed Chen Tian for so long, she was still very clear about the specifications of the Navy headquarters warships. The warship that came now was exactly the size of a Navy admiral. Chen Tian frowned. He didn't expect that he would be exposed so soon. But it didn't matter. A Navy admiral was not a threat to him. Let's go and take a look. After the words fell, Chen Tian took King Su off the ship, and Luffy followed behind. When they got off the ship, Robin and others had gathered, as if they were facing a great enemy. Belma and others also learned about the past from Robin, and agreed to be very nervous. Chen Tian looked from a distance, and saw a very iconic dog head in front of the warship. It's okay. That warship belongs to the Navy hero Garp. He didn't come here for us, but for these two little guys. Chen Tian pointed at Ace and Luffy with a relaxed expression. If anyone else came here, it would definitely be a big battle, but Garp is different. If you ask who in the Navy is most just in line with Chen Tian's heart, that person must be Garp. In order not to work for the Celestial Dragons, Garp has repeatedly refused to be promoted to Admiral, and his position is very firm. Everyone looked at Ace and Luffy in surprise. Luffy didn't react, but Ace couldn't stand it. Garp is Luffy's grandfather. Twisting his body unnaturally, Ace chose to confess. Before Robin and others could be surprised, a man suddenly jumped in front of Ace and Luffy like a cannon. Bang! The beach under his feet was smashed into a 1-meter wide pit, and the eyes of several people jumped. Is this Vice Admiral Garp a bit violent? You little brats, have you practiced well during the time when Grandpa was away? Iron Fist of Love. Bang! Before Ace and Luffy could react, Garp's fist landed on their heads. Looking at the big bump that quickly appeared, everyone took a breath of cold air. This is really your grandson, isn't he? Picked up. They have been with Chen Tian for so long, and they all know the armament haki. Aren't you too cruel? Wow. Grandpa, why did you hit me? It hurts so much. Luffy's joy was not over yet, and he held his head and wailed. Ace on the side was no different from him, and smoke began to come out of his head. But Garp frowned and asked, how did your strength improve so much? He came here to beat the two people, but now there is only one bump. Isn't this unreasonable? Until now, Garp didn't notice Chen Tian and others not far away. Vice Admiral Garp, I taught them both. Is there any problem? Chen Tian came forward at the right time. Several greetings appeared above Garp's head. He stared at Chen Tian for a long time, but didn't recognize who he was. But since the other party helped him teach his grandson, he had to thank him. So the two of them chatted happily here, waiting for the arrival of the dog-headed warship. After chatting for a while, Garp found that this young man was very much to his liking, and his strength was not bad, so he invited him. Boy, do you want to join the Navy? Seeing Garp picking his nose, Chen Tian was about to refuse on the spot, but the dog-headed warship came at this time. Vice Admiral Garp, wait for us. A middle-aged man in the uniform of a Navy colonel ran over breathlessly. But when he saw Chen Tian, who was arm in arm with Garp, he hurriedly stopped his steps, widened his eyes and exclaimed, Demon see Chen Tian. A wanted criminal with a bounty of nearly 1 billion berries. Looking at this colonel, Chen Tian was really worried that his eyes would pop out and he would be scared to death on the spot. But Garp was upset and scolded, Hey one, you are a Navy colonel, don't make a fuss. However, the way he picked his nose was not convincing at all, and he had no dignity at all. Colonel Heo-1 was smart, pulled Garp back a few steps, and quickly explained to him, Vice Admiral, this person is the demon Chen Tian, and the bounty is almost 10 billion baileys. Admiral Akainu once hunted him. Garp's brain froze for a while, and it took him a while to react. Because of O'Hara, he didn't want to see the bounty orders for Chen Tian and Robin, so he didn't recognize them. But when Colonel Heo-1 said it, he remembered it, staring at Chen Tian with his eyes wide open, as if he wanted to see a flower. Then he shook his head and said, my eyes are blurry, I didn't see anyone here, it's more important to trade my grandson first. After that, he took Ace and Luffy away in one hand, without even looking at Chen Tian and Robin. Colonel Heo looked at Chen Tian, and then at Garp, then followed him without saying much. Seeing Garp's performance without any acting skills, Chen Tian laughed. This Garp is really interesting. Because he and Robin are the survivors of O'Hara, so you pretended not to see me? You are worthy of it. Then he shook his head, and didn't think about it. Anyway, they will leave Windmill Village in 10 days, so it's just right for Garp to pretend not to see him. But Chen Tian didn't expect that Luffy on the other side had already explained what his father asked him to teach him. Garp's eyes suddenly widened and rushed towards him. Chapter 171. Fighting with Garp. Chen boy, come out here. Not long after, Garp roared with full energy outside the homecoming, instantly startling Chen. Why did this old man come to me again? Although he was confused, he still came out. Vice Admiral Garp, what do you want to talk to me about? Standing on the deck, Chen asked Garp. Picking his nose, Garp asked, do you know where that stinky boy Long is? I want to catch him and bring him back to be a Navy officer. Garp was really upset about his son. He didn't want to be a rear admiral, but actually went to start his own business. If he had been in the Navy, he would definitely be one of the 3 admirals now, so Garp was angry and proud. Shaking his head, Chen spread his hands and replied, I don't know, we only met once 3 years ago. Anyway, he had already repaid Long's favor, and there was no question of betrayal, and he really didn't know where Long was. He had only watched more than 600 episodes of One Piece when he traveled through time. Who knew that Long was hiding in that corner? Of course, Garp didn't believe Chen's words. His son's men kept secrets very well. He jumped onto the homecoming in an instant and threatened, boy, you better tell me the truth. If you do, I will let you taste my iron fist of love. Chen's eyes lit up. He didn't know where Garp ranked in this world, but he was definitely one of the strongest. If he could fight now, he would have a comprehensive understanding of his own strength. So, Chen couldn't wait to pull Garp to the back mountain and find a place that would not affect other people. But Garp was dumbfounded. He was obviously threatening Chen, so why was the other party more anxious than him? But since Chen wanted to fight, Garp didn't mind and followed him. The 2 of them burst out with all their strength, and in a few minutes they arrived at the territory of the former bandit Sig. Looking around, Chen nodded with satisfaction and said, this is not bad, let's fight here. His eyes were full of fighting spirit, and he wanted to rush to Garp immediately. Okay, I'll try your skills. With a heroic smile, Garp waved at Chen. When sparring with a junior, he had to be the first to attack. He couldn't afford to lose this person. That's right, Garp didn't regard Chen as a wanted criminal at all, but a junior who was hurt by the Navy. O'Hara studied history and had nothing to do with the Navy, but because of an order, the Navy destroyed the island. After 2 people finally escaped, they were still facing the pursuit of the Navy. Garp felt a little guilty. Therefore, his attitude towards Chen was naturally different. Anyway, he was not afraid of the 5 elders of the Celestial Dragons. Shave. Chen was not polite either. He used all his moves on the spot and collided with Garp. At first, Garp didn't care, but after a few moves, his face became serious. Good boy, no wonder you were able to escape that year. Your strength is no weaker than the 3 admirals. Affirming Chen's strength, Garp added a few points of strength in his hand. Everyone on the homecoming had heard that Chen was going to fight Garp, so they stared at the back mountain. After seeing the dust flying here, they instantly determined the location of the 2 of them. Do you think brother Chen can beat Garp? Why you? I asked softly, while leaning on the edge of the ship. Kingsu frowned and said, I don't know if he can win, but he will definitely not lose. The 2 of them came up with the answer, based on their feelings, and only Robin was analyzing. Brother Chen's strength is not weaker than that of the Admiral of the Navy, but Garp's strength is at least an Admiral, and he may even be stronger. So brother Chen will have a harder time. Her analysis was correct. When Garp burst out with all his strength, Chen did feel extremely exhausted. Although he could still resist for a short time, he would definitely lose in the long run. It seemed that he realized that Chen could no longer continue, so Garp stopped on his own and said, hahaha, your strength is really good. You can actually withstand my full strength. He was really surprised. He didn't expect Chen to be so powerful. If any of the 3 current admirals of the Navy were to fight Chen, the result would be a 50-50 chance. Who? Panting, Chen admired Garp from the bottom of his heart. He used the system to become stronger, but Garp cultivated himself bit by bit. There is no comparison at all. Moreover, he was not flattered by Garp. Now he is about the same as the 3 admirals, because they have not reached their peak. If he were the 3 admirals at the beginning of the story, he really couldn't stand it with his current strength. After Chen Tian recovered his strength, the two went down the mountain together and had a drink at Manachi Bar. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Garp was about to leave. Chen Tian did not see him off, but watched from afar. He had communicated with Garp a lot during these 3 days. Garp even explained to him the advanced use of the 3-color domineering. Perhaps because he knew Chen Tian's identity, he did not invite Chen Tian to join the Navy again. Come to think of it, the Navy destroyed Chen Tian's hometown and still wanted Chen Tian to join the Navy. Isn't this a dream? Until now, the Navy didn't know Chen Tian's true origins and thought he was a native of Ohara. After Garp left, 7 days passed quickly, and today was the day Chen Tian left. You should practice well, don't die at sea. Waving to the 3 brothers who were reluctant to leave, Chen Tian said, Kingsu, let's go. Receiving Chen Tian's order, Kingsu hurriedly began to operate, and the homecoming slowly moved. Watching the homecoming getting farther and farther away, Ace, Sabo and Luffy on the coast held back their tears and clenched their fists. People are not plants and trees who can be heartless. Although they have only been together for a short 3 months, how can they not be moved by Chen Tian's wholehearted teaching? After leaving the windmill village, Kingsu asked, Brother Chen Tian, where are we going now? Well, let's go to Alabasta first. There is the historical text there, which Robin wants to read. Then go to Sky Island and empty the gold there to buy devil fruits. Then go to Fishman Island to enter the new world and let Robin read the historical text. Studying the historical text has always been Robin's dream, and Chen Tian will naturally help her realize it. However, he didn't know the whereabouts of many historical texts, so he could only think about what he knew. Yes, sir. Kingsu saluted Chen Tian mischievously, and Chen Tian was stunned by Kingsu's beautiful smile. Kingsu is now 20 years old. She is very well developed, and her anger and joy are heartwarming. Even Chen Tian is no exception. Seeing Chen Tian's embarrassed look, Kingsu gave him a deadly eyebrow and turned around to control the ship with a smile. Then, the homecoming headed towards Rogue Town without taking a detour. They were on their way leisurely, but the Navy headquarters quarreled again because of him. After Garp went back, he accidentally let slip when chatting with Sengoku, exposing his strength. Sengoku questioned him on the spot and learned everything that Garp knew. Then a meeting of the Navy headquarters was held, with the meeting participants including Navy Marshal Sengoku, Navy Hero Garp, General Churu, and the 3 admirals of the Navy. Okay, the above is the information about the strength of the Demon Seed Morning Sky. How should our Navy deal with it next? Sengoku knocked on the table, ignoring Garp who kept rolling his eyes next to him. Although he promised him not to tell it, he was also for the Navy, so it was understandable. Marshal Sengoku, the Demon Seed Morning Sky must be killed. Let me hunt him down. Akainu was the first to hold back, and magma was boiling on his body. The failure to hunt down Morning Sky was the biggest stain in his life. Now that he had a chance, he must erase this stain. I object. The strength of the Demon Seed Morning Sky is too strong to be taken down by a general, and it's useless for Akainu to go. Churu expressed his opinion. Although Akainu was a little annoyed, Churu was right, and he stopped talking. Aokiji and Kizaru lowered their heads, and also did not speak. Chapter 172, Taking Advantage of the Situation. Chen Tian and his companions had a smooth journey, and arrived at Rogue Town without encountering any difficulties. This place is not guarded by Smoker now, but by an ordinary branch colonel with little ability, so Chen Tian was not interested in paying attention to him. Originally, he wanted to buy the 2 good swords, the 3rd generation of Kitetsu and Zuzao, but when he thought of that follower Zoro, he gave up this idea. 2 months passed quickly, and Chen Tian and his companions came to the Desert Kingdom, Alabasta. Speaking of which, this country is the largest country in the first half of the Grand Line. After all, the royal family of Alabasta, the Nafataruli family, is the descendant of the 20 kings who once founded the world's first world war. It's just that they didn't live in the Holy Land at the beginning, but returned here to rule the kingdom of Alabasta. And now the king of Alabasta is none other than Princess Vivi's father, Nafataruli Cobra. Sure enough, it really deserves to be a desert kingdom. The weather is really hot and a bit uncomfortable. The moment he got off the boat, Chen Tian raised his right hand unhappily, trying to stop the sun from scorching. It must be said that the weather in the weakest sea of the East China Sea is much better than that in the Grand Line. At least the weather will not change from one island to another. Brother Chen Tian, are we going to break in all the way? I can be the vanguard, and my strength is not weak now. Kingsu couldn't wait to show her skills. That's not what I mean. Alabasta is not that simple. Even if we have that kind of strength, the world government will not sit idly by. Chen Tian said that he had carefully thought about it before rejecting Kingsu's proposal. Crocodile's strength is enough to destroy Alabasta, but why did he plan for so many years? Obviously he was afraid of the world government. The new world? Speaking of which, I haven't been there yet. Kingsu nodded, not quite understanding, and said softly, "Don't worry, it won't be long before we can go to the new world. But now, we have to help Robin find the historical text and take away some gold by the way." Chen Tian smiled and then spoke. He was serious about this. What he wanted was a huge number of devil fruits, which were not available in the first half of the Grand Line. He had to take over a piece of land in the new world and then slowly collect them. There was absolutely no reason to let go of the gold on the Sky Island. He had to get it all at once. This was all the capital to buy devil fruits. I understand, Brother Chen Tian. Where are we going next? Kingsu said playfully. Go get some devil fruits, but I don't know if the other party will give them to us honestly. Of course, I really hope he won't be honest. After all, I've been in the East China Sea for too long. I haven't fought seriously for several years, and my bones are a little loose. Chen Tian grinned, then twisted his neck, and some fighting spirit appeared in his eyes. And the person he was talking about getting some devil fruits in Alabasta, the only person who could store devil fruits was the national hero Crocodile. At this time, Crocodile had only set up the Baroque studio to find news about Pluto and had not yet used dancing powder on a large scale to influence the country. After all, Robin is on his ship, and Crocodile has not collected enough information now, so there is no point in doing that kind of thing. Rainy Land. Although Crocodile has not used dancing powder on a large scale during this period, he still uses it occasionally in the Rainy Land. It is precisely because of this that this area is prosperous. Moreover, Rain Banquet, the largest casino in the Kingdom of Alabasta, has provided Crocodile with huge wealth. In addition, with the provision of Baroque Studio, Crocodile is actually a very rich person. To be honest, Chen Tian has never figured out why Crocodile was defeated by the fledgling Luffy. In the end, it can only be attributed to the protagonist's halo. Otherwise, Crocodile's strength will never be defeated by a newcomer. Nami, did you bring money with you? Looking at the prosperous Rain Banquet in front of him, Chen Tian turned his head and asked. Although the main purpose of coming here is for the historical text and devil fruit, isn't it nice to satisfy your desire in advance? Moreover, Chen Tian had already calculated everything. If he won the bet, he would let the crocodile hiding in the desert go. If he lost the bet, he would take it back. Not only take it back, but also make the crocodile spit out the extra money. It was an evil pirate anyway. Nami immediately checked the things she brought with her, and then said, Brother Chen Tian, I only brought out 100 baileys. With only 1 million baileys, After Nami got on the boat, Chen Tian threw all the baileys to her. Isn't this little money grubber the best housekeeper? Don't worry, I'll tell you what to bet on when the time comes. We won't lose no matter what when we play dice and bet on the size. Chen Tian smiled and took a step directly, walking towards the prosperous Rain Banquet. That's right, he would never lose when playing the size bet, because his observation haki can see the points in advance. Even if the other party cheats, it can't escape his eyes. It's not that his observation haki is so advanced, but mainly because no one here can be domineering, so can't he do whatever he wants? In the whole Rainland, let alone those ordinary people, even Crocodile is not good at observation haki. After all, Chen Tian remembered that, when this crocodile fought against the Straw Hat Pirates, he did not use any of the 3 colors of haki. This guy seemed to rely too much on the ability of the nature fruit, and gave up haki. He did not believe that Crocodile would not use haki. After all, he was a great pirate who had entered the new world, but this guy did not use haki much. In fact, there are many people with the ability of the nature fruit, such as the 3 admirals of the Navy, who can directly use lasers to cover their faces. Why do they use armament haki to confront someone head on? After entering the rain banquet and exchanging all the 1 million baileys for chips, Chen Tian took Kingsu and others and started the road to making money directly, and at this time he also directly activated observation haki. After 2 hours, they won every time, and even if the opponent cheated, it was useless, and they gained a lot of wealth. Seeing Chen Tian bet all the chips on big again, the dealer was so anxious that he almost cried and kept winking at the people behind him. After receiving the dealer's look, a graceful woman quietly left. Chen Tian took all of this in, but was too lazy to pay attention to it. It was more fun to make money. Chapter 173. Kingsu is angry. Boss, someone has never lost with a chip of 1 million baileys, and now he has won 500 million baileys from us. A graceful woman walked into the room dedicated to Crocodile and said respectfully. It was still early at this time. Robin had been following Chen Tian and had not become a member of Baroque Studio, so now Crocodile's secretary was just a woman with some strength. The reason why this woman was able to sit in this position was because she had good ability to do things. Although her combat skills were average, with Crocodile in charge, the organization did not need 2 strong combatants. In the first half of the Grand Line, Baroque Studio was actually a very powerful organization. 1,500 million baileys? I don't think there are people in the world who are so lucky. So, they reported this matter because no one found out how the other party cheated, right? Crocodile held a big cigar in his hand, puffing smoke, and said unhappily. He was not only upset because someone was trying to make trouble at his bottom card, but also because of the incompetence of his subordinates. The other party had cheated and won 500 million baileys, but until now, no one had discovered how they cheated. Yes, no one discovered how the other party cheated. The female secretary nodded and answered without hesitation. Her eyes were also extremely cold. It was obvious that she knew what her answer would lead to. Then replace the person in charge. A casual sentence determined the life and death of a person. In Crocodile's eyes, the lives of ordinary people were worthless. After a pause, he continued, but being able to avoid being discovered proves that the other party has some means, and perhaps some strength. Which of the senior agents are nearby now? Mr. 4 and Miss Christmas just came back. Do we need them to take action? As she said that, the female secretary glanced at her watch. According to the time, if nothing unexpected happens, the other party has won about 800 million baileys now. Just clear the field and let them take action. If you dare to mess around in my territory, you will have to pay a sufficient price. A cold smile appeared on the face of the sand crocodile. After hearing his decision, the female secretary immediately turned around to inform Mr. 4 and Miss Christmas that 2 senior agents had taken action. In her opinion, this matter should be resolved. During the rain banquet, Chen Tian and others had won 800 million baileys as the female secretary had expected. Kingsu happily threw the chips, and the eager expression on her little face almost scared the dealer to tears. At this time, Chen Tian also stood beside Kingsu, patted her shoulder, and then said, "It's almost done. Let's save face for that sand crocodile. Just use these 800 million baileys to buy a few devil fruits." 800 million baileys is not a small amount. The most he has in his bank account is this amount. The sand crocodile probably can't take out more. Okay, then I'll go and exchange these chips for baileys now. Kingsu didn't care about the money. She held her chips and walked towards the exchange place. It's just that she was a little reluctant to lose the joy of winning money. Bang! Suddenly, a gunshot was heard, and then Kingsu was directly blown away by a baseball-like cannonball, and the chips in her hand were scattered all over the floor. Dear guests, please leave the rain banquet. Today's consumption is paid by my boss. Someone is cheating in the rain banquet, so we need to deal with it. The person in charge of the rain banquet stood up and said loudly. At this time, he didn't know that his boss had already decided the ending of his death. Seeing such a scene, the guests who were a little confused at first all ran out at once. Only the people from Baroque Studio, Chen Tian and others, and Kingsu, who was blown away by the shells, were left inside the entire rain banquet. The next moment, 2 fat men, a man and a woman, came out. One of them was carrying a gun, and it was obvious that he was the one who had just blown Kingsu away. Looking at these two people, Chen Tian just felt familiar. They were people from Baroque Studio, but it didn't affect him too much. After all, who would remember two little extras clearly? I was going to give face to Crocodile Sand, but looking at this situation, he doesn't plan to give me face. A cold light flashed in Chen Tian's eyes, and the corners of his mouth also rose up, revealing a sneer. The domineering aura of observation has told him that Kingsu was not hurt, and even her skin was not broken. But their actions against Kingsu have completely angered Chen Tian. The two fat men are Mr. Four and Miss of Baroque Studio. Merry Christmas. Mr. Four is an ordinary bounty hunter, but he has a gun that has eaten the dog fruit and has the dachshund form. His combat ability is not strong. Even after the main plot begins, he only has a bounty of 3.2 million berries. Miss Merry Christmas is stronger than his partner Mr. Four. After all, he is the user of the animal type mole fruit. The animal type fruit will improve the vitality and physical fitness of the user. So in terms of combat power, the user of the animal type fruit can't be too weak. However, compared with Chen Tian, these two guys are far worse. Even Robin and others can easily hang them up and beat them to death. To be precise, these two guys tied together are not enough for Robin to kill alone. But from the moment these two guys appeared here, Chen Tian knew that he and Crocodile would never be able to settle. Speaking of which, Crocodile was stingy. He only won 800 million berries, but he actually found two senior agents to deal with him. Brother Chen Tian, I have a request. At this time, Kingsu slowly stood up, but her face was very ugly at this time. She was attacked by someone when she was exchanging chips and in front of Brother Chen Tian. This is a very embarrassing thing. Well, I know. I'll leave these two guys to you. Since the other party has already made a move, I'll go up and meet the crocodile. With that, Chen Tian turned around and walked towards the rain banquet and the place inside. After he turned around, he was not on guard at all, because he believed that Kingsu would never let the two fat guys touch his clothes. Hey, hurry up, there is the 7 Warlords crocodile in there. If we provoke that guy, we will both suffer. Miss Merry Christmas patted Miss 5, and then he immediately rushed towards Chen Tian. Although the ability of the mole fruit can move faster underground, this is the rain banquet after all. If conditions permit, they will not cause too much damage to it. They were invited by the person in charge of Yuan. Anyway, according to the information sent to them by the superiors, it was a task issued by Yuan to ask them to deal with the cheating gamblers. At this time, they didn't know that their boss was the so-called national hero, Crocodile. Because of this, they didn't dare to do anything wrong. Of course, even if they knew that Crocodile was their boss, they didn't dare to do anything wrong, because in that case, this place would belong to the property of Baroque Studio. Bang! At the same time, the dachshund gun also fired a baseball cannonball, heading straight for Chen Tian. How can you guys touch a hair of Brother Chen Tian? Shave. Lanjiro. Kingsu suddenly appeared behind Chen Tian, her long legs chopped down like a knife, and the air blade flew out instantly, cutting the cannonball directly in the blink of an eye. Chapter 174 Crocodile. Seeing that the air blade was so sharp, Miss Merry Christmas did not dare to be touched by it. But at this time, it was too late for her to dodge it in the normal way, and she knew that, if she could not dodge it, she would be cut in two by the air blade. She could not care so much in the emergency, and she went directly into the ground. This was the only way for her to avoid Kingsu's attack. The next moment, Miss Merry Christmas came out from Mr. Four's side. At this time, her eyes became solemn. This person is not like an ordinary gambler. Even the pirates of the tens of millions I usually deal with are not so powerful. Hey, who are you? Miss Merry Christmas asked sharply, her eyes fixed on Kingsu. At this time, Kingsu's eyes were extremely cold, and her murderous intent was not concealed. When no one else noticed, Robin put his hands together, and countless arms were entering the ground along the tunnel that Miss Merry Christmas had just dug. Kingsu's eyes flashed, and then she said, I'm Kingsu, a navigator under the command of the demon Chen Tian. As soon as she finished speaking, she pointed her hands out one after another, and the light of the gun pointed directly towards Miss Merry Christmas and Mr. Four. Under her deliberate coercion, the two did not see the many arms in the tunnel. This is a trap. As long as Miss Merry Christmas dares to enter the tunnel again, Robin can strangle her in an instant. Chen Tian is not worried at all about the battle between Kingsu, Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas. With Kingsu's strength, it would be useless, even if the opponent had more people. Even Mr. One is not Kingsu's opponent. In the entire Baroque studio, only Crocodile is capable of dealing with Kingsu. What's more, Robin and others also stayed there, and their strength is not worse than Kingsu. Hasn't the little thief who cheated in my territory been dealt with yet? Crocodile looked at his female secretary and spoke with a gloomy face. The female secretary was about to speak, but Chen Tian appeared on another chair in the room, looking at Crocodile in front of him with a gentle smile. If you are talking about me, then I'm afraid you will be disappointed. Those two trash are no match for Kingsu and Robin. Nice to meet you, Crocodile. Crocodile. The female secretary was shocked, and even Crocodile's face changed. Before Chen Tian spoke, neither the female secretary nor Crocodile noticed that there was an extra person in the room, and they didn't even know how the other person got in. But the moment she saw Chen Tian, the female secretary reacted and moved a little closer to her boss. Then he said in a deep voice, Demon Chen Tian, the survivor of Ohara, bounty of 1,010 million baileys. The bounty was updated by the Navy a month ago. Haha, it's worthy of being Baroque Studio. The intelligence is quite accurate, so I won't beat around the bush. Chen Tian sat up straight, leaned forward slightly, and said to Crocodile, Baroque Studio is such a big organization. In addition to Bailey, there should be some devil fruits, right? How about I discuss a business with you? In fact, he was also quite confused. What is his bounty? It has increased again, and it has exceeded 1 billion. But these things don't matter, and they don't affect his fooling Crocodile at all. Oh. You sit in front of me, not considering whether you will be killed by me, but want to discuss business with me? Crocodile raised his eyelids, and showed a weird smile. At this time, Chen Tian said softly, I just won 800 million in your rain banquet, and I will use this 800 million to buy 5 devil fruits. What do you think of this business? The whole room suddenly became quiet, and the silence was a little scary. The quiet air made the female secretary sweat coldly. She could clearly feel the anger in her boss' heart. The gloomy eyes were filled with murderous intent. Boy, did you come here to mock me on purpose? Hehe. Are the newcomers nowadays really more arrogant than each other? Or have I not made a move for a while, so guys like you have forgotten how terrifying I am? Crocodile's tone became extremely low. He slowly exhaled smoke, and the terrifying murderous intent seemed to freeze the air. What about a billion bounty? It's just because of Ohara's survivor status. How much strength can he have? If he hadn't become a Shichibuke, his bounty would definitely be about the same. Crocodile has this confidence. Your terror. I don't know what's so terrifying about you hiding in alabaster. Chen Tian stood up slowly at this time, stretched his body, and his eyes changed instantly. His smile was full of indescribable sarcasm. By the way, I almost forgot one thing. I did hear about your terror in my memory. You who challenged White but in the new world are really. Ding. The sound of metal intersecting broke out instantly. Crocodile rushed out before Chen Tian finished speaking, and the golden hook in his left hand swung out at once. Chen Tian also reacted immediately. His right hand covered with armed color domineering directly blocked the opponent's golden hook, and the smile on his face remained unchanged. It was this smile that Crocodile felt that he was mocking him, no matter how he looked at it. Boy, no matter what, you can't leave here alive today. Crocodile was already extremely angry at this time because Chen Tian mentioned that he challenged Whitebird. This matter can be said to have touched his bottom line. I don't care about your life or death, but I'm very interested in the devil fruit. So, you are attacking me now to tell me that, as long as I get rid of you, I can get the devil fruit, right? Chen Tian was not afraid of the sand crocodile at all. His current strength was much stronger than a few years ago. Even if the Admiral of the Navy came, it would be, well, I can only fight one, and I will have to run away if two come. After all, the Admiral of the Navy is a bit powerful. If you can do it, then come and try it. Sandlan. Crocodile had no intention of holding back at this time. He just wanted to turn this guy with a disgusting smile into a mummy in the shortest time. A sandstorm formed on his other hand and rushed directly towards Chen Tian. The terrifying power of the sandstorm continued to increase, causing the building where the room was located to collapse. In just a few breaths, Chen Tian was completely swallowed by the sandstorm. TSK, I thought he had some skills, but it turns out he's just a rubbish rookie. What a waste of my energy. Now I have to spend time rebuilding this place. Sand Crocodile said with contempt when he saw Sandland defeated the other party. He thought that the other party knew about his fight with Whitebird and might have some skills, but he didn't expect him to be so weak. But if you think about it carefully, it's not surprising. This is the kingdom of the desert, and he is the absolute master here. Not to mention a rookie. Even if the admiral of the navy comes, he won't lose. At least that's what he thinks. In fact, you should practice haki well. If your observation haki is strong enough, you won't be talking to yourself and making a fool of yourself. Suddenly, Chen Tian's voice sounded behind Sand Crocodile. Chapter 175. The Sand Crocodile slipped away. Turning his head suddenly, Crocodile saw Chen Tian, who was unharmed, appear behind him. His expression instantly became solemn. At this moment, just like when Chen Tian appeared in the room just now, he did not notice the other party's movements at all, not even a trace. Desert Sword. With a loud shout, Crocodile's arm turned into a sand blade, and after it became huge, it swung out and slashed directly, including Chen Tian, and cut the ground in front of it. But in the next moment, his eyes suddenly changed. How is this possible? Boy, how can you be so fast? The reason why he asked this question was because he saw Chen Tian being cut in half by his desert sword. But in the next moment, the body that was originally cut in half gradually disappeared from the spot, and it was the shadow left by Chen Tian. Because Chen Tian's speed was so fast, he could actually leave a lifelike shadow after leaving, deceiving his sight. It's not that I'm fast, but your observation haki is too weak. Chen Tian smiled. Garp's speed is faster than his own. Then he walked towards Crocodile with an ordinary longsword in hand. He used the armament haki to completely cover the entire longsword so that he could cut the natural entity. In this way, this ordinary longsword can be as hard as those famous swords. Seeing the other party coming towards him, Crocodile frowned and used the desert diamond sword. Although the power of this move is more powerful than the desert treasure island, it has no effect on Chen Tian. At such a fast speed, Crocodile can't touch him at all, and the powerful attack can't achieve any effect. 1,010,000,000 Baileys? It seems that it's not entirely because of the identity of the O'Hara survivor. Crocodile thought to himself. Hey, as a Shichibuke, is this all you can do? Are you going to stand there and wait for me to take your head? Chen Tian said casually. He didn't think of this Crocodile as a strong opponent. Although Crocodile's strength is very strong, if you are not proficient in observation haki and armament haki, there is no good way to deal with him. He and Garp are of the same type. Both of them are strong men with invincible physical bodies. Except that they don't have the large-scale moves of Devil Fruit ability users. Whether it is attack, defense, speed, haki, etc., all are not weak. Without obvious weaknesses, he is a piece of stinky and hard stone, with terrible survivability. Take my head? You have to have the strength to do that. No matter how fast you are, as long as I include everything around you in the attack range, you can't dodge it anyway, right? As he said that, Crocodile put one of his hands on the ground, and then the terrifying power burst out at this moment. Erosion Samsara. Erosion Samsara, Crocodile's signature skill, is also the ultimate killer move he realized not long ago. A large-scale attack unique to the natural fruit. After the right hand touches the ground, it uses cracking to absorb the moisture of the creatures or objects it touches and gradually spreads to the surroundings. After it is activated, it has a terrifying power that can even turn rocks into sand. After using it, the surrounding buildings will gradually become sandy and sink, and the ground will become a dry and cracked wasteland, as if it is dead. However, this move is still useless to Chen Tian. Although this ultra large scale attack will be included in the attack range, no matter where he is. But as long as it is covered with armed color domineering, the attack power of this move can't hurt him at all. But passively taking a beating is not his style. the long sword in his hand is suddenly completely wrapped in black air, and the huge and powerful armed color shines brightly, looking very powerful. Chen Tian uses his own armed color to cover the long sword, which can greatly enhance his attack. If his swordsmanship and physical fitness are added, it will be even more terrifying. When he felt the power of the corrosive cycle spreading to his feet, he jumped up and spun in the air and flew towards Crocodile like an arrow. Seeing Chen Tian approaching him, Crocodile inexplicably felt a sense of crisis. He felt that if he allowed the other party to attack him like this, he might really die here. Almost subconsciously, Crocodile gave up on continuing to use the corrosive cycle and quickly took a step back. At the moment he retreated, the long sword with the armed color domineering aura slashed down, and the sharp blade light left a beautiful trace in the air. Puff! The sound of blood spurting sounded. Although Crocodile took a step back, he still did not completely avoid Chen Tian's slash. His chest was directly slashed by the sharp long sword, and blood spurted out directly. Moreover, the appearance of his own blood actually affected the performance of his fruit ability. As a user of the nature type sand fruit, his body will materialize when it touches water and blood, even his own blood. Desert sword. Crocodile turned his arm into a sand blade in anger and rushed towards Chen Tian through a special path from the ground. Compared with the desert diamond sword, this move was much faster. However, the purpose of his move was not to kill Chen Tian. He knew very well that the demon Chen Tian in front of him was not someone he could deal with at the moment. If he had not been injured, he might have had a certain chance of winning if he had not been careless in the fight with him. But now that he was injured, he was definitely not a match for the purple-haired man in front of him. At the moment, when the desert sword came towards him, Chen Tian took 2 steps back, then slashed out with the long sword in his hand, and the ink-colored sword energy instantly split the sand blade in 2. When he looked forward through the slashed sand blade, he found that Crocodile, who was supposed to be in the front position, had disappeared. After transforming into an element, it merged into the desert and escaped. What a troublesome ability. In this desert kingdom, unless this crocodile lets its guard down, it is almost impossible to kill him. After confirming that the sand crocodile had escaped, Chen Tian put away his sword. The battle was over, and the result was that he won, and the sand crocodile ran away. If it weren't for the need to practice swordsmanship and break through to the realm of the great swordsman, he actually had the ability to keep Crocodile. If he burst out with all his strength, he should be able to kill Crocodile on the spot before Crocodile could react. In this way, he didn't even have a chance to resist, let alone escape. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.